Okay, it is 2 p.m. The meeting will come to order. I'm sorry, it's 2:04, 2:05. We'll call it 2:04. Meeting will come to order. We have most of our trustees here physically. Trustee Addison is still trying to get connectivity, so she's technically out at the moment. And Trustee Bauman is available right now through Zoom. And we have, let's see, our treasurers here and our directors here, our chief admin officer is here, and our communications marketing manager is here. And I'm expecting counsel to some degree. I don't know if he's going to be zooming in today or not. I did text just now to double check, but he is expected to speak with us today at some point. So we have a quorum, and we can begin with our pledge of allegiance. If we can find the flag. Where is the flag?
Flag's over here.
Okay, okay.
You want to move it?
No, it's good. I can. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was kind of a hiccup chamber. I wasn't sure if I was going too fast.
The more you slow down, the more she slows down.
I couldn't tell. I don't see anyone here for public comment, so I won't read this video. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Seeing that we don't have that, I won't read the long spiel and we'll move on. Next is appointment of treasurer. For the code, Idaho Code 33-2722. And I was informed that the treasurer, the trustee Vantucci accepted. And so we now just need, I guess we just need to sign paperwork on that. Is that, we don't do any swearing in, I don't think, on that, do we?
Paperwork will be sent electronically from the bank, so you'll be receiving it probably tomorrow or early next week.
That'll be going to both of us again? Or-
You're already in, so it'll just be going in.
Okay, so we don't have anything else to do with regard to the resolution? Yeah,
Well, we just need to make sure the minutes,
Yeah,
the
reflected.
minutes go as part of the documents of the bank. So as long as the minutes reflect that she's,
yes. Okay, very good. So
We elected trustee Goff.
yes, we did. Well, Trustee Guff changed her name and now she's Trustee Banducci. Okay, we'll come next on the consent agenda. Get mine opened up here. Turn in the sign-in sheet. Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? I got those in advance, of course. Does anyone have any changes or suggestions, further discussion on it? Any? Okay, hearing none, and without objection, the minutes are hereby approved. Next, okay. Okay, we move on now to the Community Library Network June 2026 financial statements. I have a question on it. Start off. Looking at, let's see, expense code 40, I'm sorry. Yeah, 401 and 403. I'm just kind of curious on those two actuals that are there. They're monies that we did not have identified in the budget for this particular year. Are these essentially, is this, I'll call it windfall income, unexpected income, because it doesn't appear we had budgeted for that. Just want to make sure it comes out to about $190,000 more or less.
I'm gonna just take the first stab at it, but so these lines usually roll into the total property tax line. So I'm not sure whether the zero in the approved budget line means that we didn't budget for it per se. It just means that we expect this money to come in under those particular categories, property tax relief, homeowner tax relief. But that's in the property tax calculation for the.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
Yeah.
some discussion on, I don't know if those numbers were rolled into the line 400 or not.
So he's,
Maybe
yeah,
that-
he's
oh,
wondering
yes.
why we don't have a number 0. Why don't we have a budgeted number for those amounts?
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
without objection from the board, please, go ahead.
Yes, so those GL codes, it is the property tax, for instance, the bond levy, judgment levy, sales tax, ag, homeowner tax relief, property tax relief, those change. And when the purple and blue paper that we give you, for instance, some of the payouts were different from last year, and there's additional ones that come in, and they can change every month. So as they come in, if it's a new tax, for instance, if you look at the property tax relief, we just started showing that in Kootenai County on the blue form starting January. And then obviously it's broken out. Sometimes it comes every month, sometimes it's a larger amount, sometimes it's a smaller amount. And then sometimes it goes back 5 years. And so as the new ones come in, we create the new GL code. So it wouldn't necessarily be budgeted because we wouldn't know to budget for it. It essentially rolls back into the, I guess you would call the parent GL account.
Which
For
is 400.
400, correct.
But right now, you don't think that those two numbers for 401 and 403 were part of 400?
No, I didn't understand the question. So yes, all of that's on our budget. For instance, the collapsed version that you looked at on round 1 that we uncollapsed for you to see for round 2 and 3, those would also play into that as well.
So I don't do fast mathematics, but if we take the column up the top from 400 at the actuals, so 3,393 plus 33, I'm sorry, hold on. No, that's actual, all those together? I'm not sure, I'm still not following this quite.
And the assumption is that it's gonna add up to that,
Ex-
and it doesn't need to be on the.
Exactly, yes, because it's.
Yeah, so we don't put a number in the 401, 403, 405, for example, budget line that stays 0. We'll collect it throughout the year. It is rolled into our estimates for the approved overall parent GL code of 400, right? So the 5.353 million. So when all is said and done,
Yes.
we should be hitting the 5.35 number and
Okay.
not necessarily being over in percentage of revenue in the other GL codes.
Okay. I believe I understand that. I mean, so as long as, because if that number we have is the budget amount of $5.3 million there, did not include the 33,000 and 159,000.
Mhm.
Then it seemed like
It was extra money. I was
Yeah,
not-
so it's not,
Yeah.
very good,
Yeah.
okay. Yep, trustee Plus.
If we go down to the bottom on next
This is
expenses.
speaker, in case those guys, I was on, okay.
Um, 764 utilities district is 0. I'm just, maybe I asked that before, but that was going to be the least office, and
Yes.
that's why it's 0.
Okay, I'll follow up with another question then. For GL code, let me see if I can line it up right here, telecom on 635. I think I brought that up once before, last month, I think. We budgeted, almost $80,000, and I think that was for the Fat Bean project, and I think ICFL, the Idaho Commission for Libraries, that's being funded by them, so does that mean we have another $80,000 that we're not spending out of our own budget?
So there's a couple this is all related to E-rate. And there's a few options on how that plays out. And the option that we use for E-rate is that it's handled by the vendor. So FatBeam sends us an invoice, and the invoice will either read a credit or a debit, because they're the ones receiving the E-rate at their end. right? So, because I know you asked this question last time, and the question is whether there's a income line for E-rate and then the expense line, but that's not actually how E-rate's working with us. So we get the invoices for telecom from FATB, and 1 month we might owe, but then the next month we may have a credit of 7,000 or whatever the E-rate. So it's being handled on the FATB invoices, not through an in and out of revenue and expenses. So that's why you'll see it go like, so the current month is both in like -1791, -7353, right? And then but we do have a plus year to date, 2985 and 5522. So throughout the year it fluctuates because it depends on the invoicing that we get from FATB, because they're handling the E-rate subsidy. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, we have 3 months left in the fiscal year. And we've allotted $80,000 for that line item. And we've only spent $5,000. We expect to spend the other $75,000 in the next 3 months.
Yeah. So the budget amount is the amount it would cost us to do this if we didn't have E-rate. So that's why that number sits there as the budgeted amount,
But it's like a placeholder.
for the fact that that's what the service costs.
Yeah. But I mean, are we going to be spending? I'm trying to understand. We budget X amount of dollars. And we've only spent $5,000 out of $80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to.
So it's actually a wonderful thing. We can't count on it, which is why we have to budget for it every year. So that's why it's sitting there with severely under budget.
Which is good.
Yes, to answer your question, it is projecting that we're gonna have 100% of it covered. What will that be the case next year? We can't count on it, so we just continue to do the same thing. You have to budget for it, as long as the money's there and we get the credit. The way, again, the director is right. The way we have it set up is they basically deal with the billing and then, so we don't have to show it as an income line. But it's sitting there to, if they weren't gonna give it to us for whatever reason, because we also have the 70% and the 30%, we would pull it from that line to supplement if it wasn't being covered 100%. The way it's set up right now is, it's certainly looking like we're gonna have both the 70 and the 30 covered for next year as well. But again,
Well, that's in the budget for next year.
it is for the budget
Right.
next year as well.
But we're now well into this budget year,
Yes.
well along into it.
It's, so
So
it's
we may
accurate.
have a large amount of money
So that's
to
accurate.
carry forward if something, or do something with it.
Yes, that money's accurate. It's accurately reflected.
All right.
Yeah.
And that would also apply then to the rental rate, which we haven't had to pay into as well.
Everything's accurate. So what you are seeing is what is
For
actually.
line,
Yeah.
yeah, for line 716. I'm sorry, not that, that's repairs, I'm sorry. Trustee Banducci.
Just to follow up on that, so do we know roughly year by year if we're getting that money or?
It's a difficult, we had like 2 or 3 meetings,
Yeah,
it's complicated, but
Okay.
somehow the money comes what, through the federal government back to some contractor or something? I can't remember how that works. It was
Second, by second,
very
Yeah.
confusing.
minute by minute.
Oh, there's an E-rate process, which obviously the board labored through, this last year. And technically it's a 5-year contract, but we can't do 5-year contracts per code. So we do 1-year contracts with renewable,
Mhm.
language in there, which legal looks at. Anyway, long and short of it is we have to budget a certain way. The chances of us receiving the money for the 5-year contract is highly likely. It's very predictable. But we can't not budget it. So part of getting it is budget. We have to have the funds, right, to be able to do this. It's a subsidy, a reimbursement, based on the criteria for the program to get the internet access and stuff. So,
Just roll it over to the
Yeah,
same account every year.
Okay, because I'm just, again, looking at a lot of expenses that we budgeted for that we may not actually have to pay out. We have not line item, but, call it again, expense code 635, expense code 764, and expense code 800, I think it was there, 885. Between all those three together, there's a lot of extra unspent money that we budgeted for, that just bringing that to our attention. Yes.
We will likewise probably bring it to your attention when we want to use it for something.
Understood.
So extra money is a good thing.
I'm aware it's there though, I'm looking at it.
I'm glad we're all aware it's there.
That's the-
So I'm gonna jump over to the, combination of the net position balance sheet and this blue sheet that's showing all the years. If I go look at year-to-date total on the right of the blue sheets, this is for Kootenai County, it's about 90,000 for other years other than this year. But when I look at the top line revenue, property taxes, line 400, GL 400, I tend to think this is all money coming in for this year. That's what the property taxes were budgeted for. But 90,000 has come in for previous years. So it's making it look like this year's money is maybe higher than it would have been, or why don't we budget for what's going to come in for previous years and maybe make another line item, 2026 property taxes and then non-2026 property taxes. It's inflating, the money coming in is inflating what it looks like what we're having, but yet you go over to net position, line 148, current assets, that number never changes. It seems like it, and maybe you said that you're going to do that once a year, but it seems like that should have gone down 90,000. I just, the accounting doesn't seem to be taking into account that we're getting money for on line 400 for other than 26 property taxes. And I think that's misleading me on how much money is coming in. I don't know, but I think we could clarify this somehow, but maybe.
Yeah, I just don't think, we want to make sure we don't conflate the documents, right? The blue document, the blue and purple are actually the way that we can show what is happening. It actually, and we've talked about this many times before, it's not going to affect the net position numbers, the 148, because that's a different accounting practice. It's a different document and it handles it differently. We talked about that before, why that doesn't change. Mathematically, we can do that, but that's what the purpose of the blue and purple sheet are. And then to speak to the other question is whether we're conflating the 400, the current year's 400 tax revenue with this purple and blue sheet. The purple and blue sheet's not predictable. It just comes as it comes, right? We don't want to think that the estimated 400 number has anything to do. It doesn't. That's actually what we would expect to get in taxes for that fiscal year. Whether or not that's different in the end because this other stuff came in and got coded to 400 isn't really an issue for the two things. Like if you stick them together, you say, well, yeah, can we get a different number for 400? Because we could possibly predict 5 or 6 years back pay, but we can't. So I don't want you to confuse the two, but we're actually giving you everything. You can see everything. It's just, we don't actually want the purple and blue sheets to inform the green sheets because they're not, especially the net position one, it's not supposed to, accounting wise. And whether or not we would make it inform the 400 on the statement can go either way, because in one sense, the 400 is the current year's anticipated tax revenue. Blue and purple is not an anticipated tax revenue as it relates to that that make sense as it relates to the 400 when we first set it up at the time that we're gonna approve it? So in August, we'll have a number, they get approved. That's the fiscal year's tax revenue. What actually happens in the year, as far as the blue and purple, that's just more information for you guys to be able to look at and say, oh, that's cool. We actually collected 90,000, 150,000 from 2025, 2022. That's great. Doesn't actually have anything to do with the other number. Does that make sense?
I think.
Like, we're giving you all the info. I
know
hesitate
it's
to-
there, but the
yeah.
reason it's important is because we've received on 400, GL 400, we've received over 90,000 more from previous years than what we budgeted. What matters is what the July 31st, what it will be. But that's almost 2% increase in property tax. And if we're getting an extra 90,000,
So the issue,
I mean, 50,000 was 1% increase. If we take a 100,000 was 2%. I'm just saying we brought in more money so far than we budgeted. So my thinking is that we shouldn't be asking the taxpayers for more because we've
so this
brought in more
yeah,
money.
so I would disagree with that way of thinking, because you're conflating two things which shouldn't be conflated, right?
No,
So, which is fine.
it's all on
We can discuss
line
that.
400. I'm just saying 400 is higher. We're bringing more money in than we budgeted.
Yes,
So we
I-
should have money left.
And you
We-
probably did all the time, but this is why the purple and blue sheet is a boon to your ability to govern the library. So providing you with the purple and blue is opening the access, which I know you guys didn't have before. So
Transparency.
it's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a great thing. But I would caution you, like we kind of talked about before, where we're going to make a decision about the 1, 2, 3 later. We're gonna make a decision about the 1, 2, 3 based on stuff which has less to do with that decision. So you're saying, oh, hey, look, and we're getting 90 here, 150. So what does it matter? It's only a difference of 50,000 between 1, 2, and 3. So let's give them 0 because they're gonna get this. We don't know whether we're gonna get it. We don't know how this is totally unpredictable. Even if you were to look back and say, oh, well, we can predict some averages, it's still not, I would disagree with that way of thinking.
If I'm understanding correctly, 400 on our revenue is what we budgeted for last year for this current fiscal year. Is that correct?
Property tax.
And then if there's extra taxes that come in that were from previous years, that shows up in that line item as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that
it'll
would
run
make
through-
sense to me. So it's just basically, they're in arrears, basically, these people, and they're
Always.
paying after the
That's right.
fact, but we can't budget on money we didn't get 2 years ago.
Exactly.
So I can see why we would, if I'm understanding this correctly, I can see why we budgeted X amount. And that's in line 400, and shows on there the approved amount for the budget. It's quite possible, and maybe I won't say likely, but our actual can exceed that amount. Because it could be this year, but it also may not be, because
Exactly.
we may not get all the
Yeah.
taxes this year either.
Yeah, the implication is that if you're getting taxes from 2023, it means they didn't pay it in 23.
Yes.
Which means even though we estimated a number for the current fiscal year, if it's likely we get arrears, it's likely we don't get current.
And that's
So
why
it's
we're
a
seeing
wash.
money just come in 2022, 23,
Yeah.
20, we see that, yeah.
So if anything, it speaks to the predictability of not being able to determine what you're actually gonna get in the current fiscal year, because it's always gonna be this little bit of back and forth from previous years.
And the key is that, again, the blue and purple is really being transparent so you could see, otherwise you wouldn't know where it's coming,
Right.
what you were previously seeing. Because again, the key word is it's hitting this year. It hits our books this year, so we are receiving it this year. They're collecting it from previous years, but it's hitting our books this year. So that's a key takeaway here.
Please, go ahead, trustee Foss.
The whole thing is this number, line 400 is unpredictable. Except for what people should have by the end of July, that last payment, July 30, 25th or whatever. That's what matters. I want to see the total there. I'm holding off on budget decisions till I see that total. Because I know year to date of this year, a lot of people pay the full year all at once. So I've seen this for several years in a row. The amount we have going into July is more than, or we were paid more than half in February. So I don't know what number we're gonna have at the end of July. But this is, in my mind, this is critical, and if we were paid, you know, a lot more than we collected or from previous years, and anyway, I want to know the number on July 25th. I'll be calling the treasurer or the account, or not accounting, the anyway, the county. I'd like to know what that number is as soon as you can, and I'd ask that you folks ask for that too, because that tells us how much we have left for the rest of the year.
Okay. Are there additional questions, discussions on the financial statements? And that could be also coming in from electronically there. Any additional questions? No? Okay,
No, thank you.
very good. You're coming in loud and clear. Thank you. All right, well, everyone's, there's no further discussion, no more questions on there. Without objection, we're accepting the financial statements for the period ending June 30th, 2026. A little side note on our collections from that unique, our ratio is getting worse and worse. 7-to-1. I think I've seen as high as 12-to-1 on a kind of regular basis. So there's no books to be collected, or they're not getting all the money. Okay, next.
And this should be part of the consent agenda, not the.
I think it's part of the financials.
It's consent.
It's always grouped with the finances. I don't know.
Yeah, it's financial.
Yeah, if you have a question on it, if no one objects, we can open it up. Good. Okay, I'll move on now to the Harrison Library Annual Report and Tour. And I believe you say it Annie or Ani? Ani? Okay, I'll start with a U instead of an A, and I can pronounce it better. Okay, thank you. Got it.
Trustee Plus. Back up. It's gonna be right in your face. Here we go.
Reach, honey.
So, good afternoon, and thank you for coming to Harrison. I know it was a drive, so I appreciate it. Good afternoon. I'd like to give you a brief history of the city of Harrison and the Harrison Library. Harrison was established in 1899 as a mill town and has experienced rapid growth over the following decades. By 1912, the population was around 1,250. City boasted a handful of sawmills, an opera house, hospital, bank, and thriving storefronts. Harrison Library was established on July 13, 1912. It's the oldest library in Coon County. At that time, it shared a building with the elementary school second grade class and was open one day a week on Saturdays when school was closed. The library was run at that time by the founding members and the board of trustees before the first librarian was hired in 1917. Harrison Library eventually moved to share space with City Hall for many decades before joining the Community Library Network in 1995. So we celebrated our 30th anniversary last year. And we finally got our own building, so yeah. When people mention the fire in Harrison, they're referring to the devastating July 1917 fire at the Grant Lumber Company, which wiped out 30 homes and half of the business district. Harrison never really recovered, and with the subsequent closing of mills and the clearing of timber, the population began a steady decline. The year-round population is now around 225, with a median age 58. Over the past 6 years that I've been here, more young families have moved into the area with younger kids. This demographic change is reflected in our patronage, with more children's books being circulated. This past year, we've noticed less tourists, but an increase in summer locals, meaning those who are here for 5 months. The Harrison Library Circ staff, Alicia and Emma. Alicia is here working diligently. Enjoy creating displays to support youth and adult programs. So here are pictures of our Jane Austen display to complement the adult program Jane Austen Tea Party. Our children's fiction and nonfiction display to support the Magic Treehouse Wild Readers program. And our Shark Week display, complete with 3D sharks that you can sort of see. By far the most common request has been help with the Libby app. Since October, when we split from CIN, Harrison Library staff have talked to over 60 patrons, helping them try to sort this out, either in person at the desk or over the phone. And since we all have the Libby app, because we all use Libby, it's easier to log into our app and talk them through it. Also, more patrons are taking advantage of our brand new copier that we have and the ability to print on larger format paper. Our power user for the past few months has been the Drift Restaurant, which is just down there. They're brand new, and they're printing 8.5 by 14 venues for the patrons. And we have also been printing 11 by 17 posters for our various programs. So that's been great. So during the summer months, the Harrison Library functions as the City of Harrison's unofficial visitor center. Many tourists come in befuddled, asking about restaurants, gas stations, or directions. We encourage them to pick up a Harrison walking map and a business and event directory, while explaining that not all the restaurants have consistent hours, and wouldn't they enjoy a nice stroll to figure out what's open and what's not. In fall, winter, and early spring, we strive to create a warm and welcoming environment. Adults and families enjoy working on jigsaw puzzles in front of a crackling fire with a hot beverage of their choice. My staff and I have worked hard to engage.
Where's the fireplace?
Oh, it's usually in there.
Yeah.
We take it down for the summer. It's too hot. So we work hard to engage with our community. The Harrison Library and our Harrison Family Festival are featured in our annual city event and business listing, and the Harrison Searchlight, which is published annually by the Harrison Old Time Picnic Committee. Both are mailed to homes throughout the inland Northwest. We have a strong relationship with Kootenai School District, sending books and flyers to Harrison Elementary's Kids College after-school program. This summer, school district received a stack of the summer edition of the Discovery magazine. To complement the magazine, I created a refrigerator-friendly spreadsheet listing all of the Harrison summer programs. Seeing children come out of the woodwork to handle reptiles with Dr. Dave last week, then come into the library to check out books after washing their hands, and request a 3D dinosaur was really pretty cool. Harrison is in a unique position of not having a dedicated youth or adult programming person. To keep our patrons informed about activities and special events, I create a monthly event calendar listing all programs, as well as other flyers to correspond with youth or adult programs. This information is posted around town, in the post office, and on the bulletin board outside the library. The City of Harrison includes our event calendar on their bulletin board, and the St. Mary's Gazette publishes our events in their Harrison column. And of course, there's our community Facebook page for up-to-the-minute lost dog sightings, farmers market notices, and library activities. Putting on my adult programming hat for a moment, I'd like to tout our cookbook club. It's been a great year for trying different cuisines and recipes. In closing, I'd like to showcase our April Fool's Day hijinks. The picture on the left. So we've swapped out the labels from mystery and science fiction. Can't really tell. And we arranged the books by color. That is helpful for all those folks who want that popular mystery book with the red cover, but they don't remember the author. And then the picture on the right is just a sample of the James Patterson display we did throughout the library. Who knew he wrote for all ages and genres? Librarians. And that's all I have. Thank you for coming. Do you have any questions?
I have one. Have you had any problem getting books brought down here? Because I know you don't have the whole collection. The collection is a piece of all of the libraries. So
No, we don't have a problem.
How-
Courier
how
comes twice
often?
a week,
how often?
twice a week.
Twice a week? Okay. Okay. Just us.
So who is James Patterson? Is that what you said? Yeah.
So
I-
James
I'm not
Patterson is a very prolific author who started out writing thrillers and then has expanded his name and writes with he co-authors with a lot of other folks, depending on who he's writing for. So he has a different author when he's writing children's books versus books for young adults. And he also has different authors depending on the genre. Like he's even written a romance, he's written cookbooks. So he's really all over the place. And it literally, every single book that you saw phasing out was a James Patterson book.
Is he good?
Everybody thinks so.
And none of the other libraries have access to it. It's all, they're all here. Other questions? Thank you, Ani. And I guess we get our tour now.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Ani, thank you for the tour. Appreciate that. We finished the library, I know you say report and tour. So we now go on to the director's report and agenda item number 10.
All right, this shouldn't be too long. In the nice director's report brochure, just obviously we see a bit of an upward trend in the summer months for visits, so we up almost, what's that? 6,000 or so people. So that's summer reading program, gets a lot of traffic. We see a little bit of a spike in circulation, especially with physical items.
Okay, can I ask you about the summer program or you want to wait till you finish?
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, no, I was just curious because it's a collaborative summer reading program, nonprofit and so forth, and it's been sponsored, I guess, partly by the Idaho Commission for Libraries. Just whatever the content is of these programs, are they in line with the CLN's rather stringent policies? Because I don't know what the content is of the policy of these programs.
Yeah, so that doesn't really speak to content. The CSLP is a nationwide support for summer reading, which provides the theme and then accompanying merchandise and imagery, right? You can do whatever, libraries can do whatever they want with the programs. They're not dictating that. It's not a collaboration in that sense.
So they're not choosing which
So,
books or programs?
No. So basically what it is if, let's say a library, let's say the World Cup, let's say they wanted to do a World Cup or soccer themed summer reading program, they could choose to do their own summer reading program theme. It would just mean that they'd have to create all their imagery, t-shirts, the bags, like all that stuff. So what CSLP is doing is they're creating that package based on a theme, but they're not dictating what actual programs or anything is happening. So this one, we had one year was oceans, so you could take it in any direction you wanted. In this case, it's Unearth the Story, right? A lot of the imagery is dinosaur related, but we have programs on, historical storytelling and anything that could be remotely used under the banner of Unearth the Story, right? So all CSLP is offering is sort of a product annually in a summer reading package that most libraries will choose it because it saves them having to create their own t-shirts and if you've seen, well, even in the mag, like if you see them, like the imagery that you would get with it, that's all marketing and image product that they're creating. So that's the extent of the collaboration. It's not our programs are still our programs. Yeah, there's no influence on that from.
I guess we'll make sure it was not overriding whatever we have for our.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, so a lot of this is about programs in there, but I'll just move on to some of my own updates. As usual, my first updates, collection development. Not too much to report. As I reported last time, the final step before the mature content collection is launched is a meeting with the public services manager and the Post Falls branch manager and myself, because we just need to figure out what the day-to-day will be like for the staff who have to have that collection in their building. So it's not gonna have an impact certainly like in Harrison and other smaller branches because the collection isn't there. So there still needs to be a meeting I have to have with Public Services Manager, Nick Manson and then Jennifer Kraft from Post Falls, just to talk about what the day-to-day will be like, because that's where it's housed. So I would, that's gonna happen probably before the end of the month, so I would suspect an August launch, for the mature content collection. Inappropriate children's material continues to be reviewed, collection development, so once again, I know it's a broken record, but I'll just, make sure everyone understands the distinction. The distinction is that harmful violates the Children's School and Library Protection Act, whereas inappropriate does not violate the Children's School and Library Protection Act. Inappropriate is a designation pertaining to CLN policy informed in part by community feedback. So items deemed inappropriate will be relocated to the general collection, allowing parents the freedom to provide access to this material via the general access card for minors. Some of the stuff I just write down here so that I restate the same thing over and over again for everyone, but there's no further legal review of material right now. We're always, collection development department always has things in their office. They could be reviewing travel books, cookbooks, any kind of books for being out of date or whatever. So the inappropriate material is just an ongoing project. There's no list, there's no items being, pulled for legal review right now, so. And any issues, some people ask about transparency, but as a public library, obviously the library catalog offers full transparency to where everything is. So when the time comes, when the mature content collection is launched, one could simply go into the ILS and, search by that shelf location and they could get the entire set, right? So if one knows how to search the ILS, then they can always uncover the location and status of everything we have. So plus we, as you know, we publish the acquisition list each month anyway. So full transparency on the whole collection and it's just a work in progress. Marketing update. As you see there, so as reported previously, we were going to do large posters to celebrate the 250th and then the semi-quincentennial book displays. And so this was one example right here. I think the goal here is to move this out to the outside and have an outdoor display case, display, one of those thin things with the plastic and the keys. So, but that's the kind of poster that's going to be in each branch, and it's going to be fixed in the branch, and it'll stay the 250th for now. But in the future, we can swap it out for other sort of marketing, certainly with our 50th later in November and anything in the future. But for now, it's going to have the 250th poster in there for the remainder of most of this year until maybe the 50th anniversary one takes its place. Speaking of which, we'll have the CLN 50th anniversary celebration, which is and as we heard this evening, Harrison has its own. Each branch has their own sort of anniversaries for when they established. So this one is celebrating when the district kind of formalized 50 years ago as the community library network. And so that is going to be on Saturday, November 14th. It'll go from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and it'll be at the Hayden branch. And more details will be forthcoming about what's going on that day, but it's November 14th, 10 a.m. to 3:30 at the Hayden branch. Just throughout the summer, the CLN participates in local community events, and I had the great pleasure of going to the Spirit Lake July 4th parade. And it was actually really, really inspiring, and it was quite impressive. Lots and lots of people. I was told people coming from all around. Special thanks I want to throw out to Carol Ferguson and her team. I walked in the parade with them and they gave out candy, and it was a lot of fun, and it was really patriotic. It was a good event. And so each branch has something like that, obviously, and I think I'll be at the Hayden Days, and also I think I'm slotted for the fair as well. So we have a lot of community participation, especially in the summer. So I want to say thanks also to to the communications department and also program department, because they're the ones that usually lead the way on these things. So anyway, it was great to be a part of that, and obviously I encourage the board anytime you want to be a part of a parade or you know, a community event, please feel free to reach out. So that was exciting. And then just some human resource updates. We have quite a few open positions right now. We have the adult youth programming specialist, which is a joint position here, Harrison and Pinehurst. I think right now the status is we have some applications we're reviewing. There's a circulation specialist at Hayden and circulation specialist at Post Falls opening, and interviews are actually happening this week. I think we had some yesterday, and they're ongoing. A big pool for that. We're quite pleased with you know, who we're able to recruit and who shows interest in our organization. So those interviews are ongoing. That should wrap up in a week or so. The library courier is another open position, which right now we're just in the reviewing applications period. And the same with the executive, the executive assistants, we've had interviews. We had some last week and we're having another one next week. So we're in the interview stages for that. So quite a few positions, important positions, and we're pretty hopeful we'll be able to fill them strongly. And just a note, we had a retirement from the adult programming position, and that's being filled by our Spirit Lake programmer, Akemi Ferris. You might remember, she was the one talking about the chess club when we went up there. So she worked part-time as the Spirit Lake adult programmer, but we've created a full-time position where she'll go between both. They were both part-time positions, so she's moving into that, and we're pretty excited about that. And then finally, a couple other updates. We've talked about this many times before about the hours related to after-school access to the libraries. And that was in the budget from previous year. So we're gonna be finalizing that, and hopefully, so this refers to the smaller branches where there's like a school right nearby, and on the days they close at 3 o'clock, it was a bit of an obstacle for usage. And we're going to be expanding those hours. We're hoping to analyze that and launch it for the new year. So after Labor Day, or, you know, in September, we're hoping to be able to announce those changes. It's still a little bit of work to do with the public services manager and I and obviously CAO to talk about some of the HR related things and staffing and scheduling, but I'm hopeful we can make those adjustments.
Where was that?
So there's gonna be Spirit Lake, Pinehurst, Athol, I think. And then we talked about here at Harrison. There was an issue of whether we were extending hours or shifting hours because they have staggered starts. Some open at 10, some open up at 11. I think Harrison's preference here, if I remember, was not to add, but to shift. So we're looking at all that, and then hopefully early into the new year, we'll be able to announce it so it times well with the students. And just one last thing, just going to pursue some minor renovation to the district office space at Hayden to allow the director to have an office there as well. Obviously, I have an office in Post Falls. You all visited me there. One thing, and this always speaks back to my desire to have the district all in one place, which is a longer term project, but as a shorter term solution, we're just going to reno a little bit. It's one office, little space, which needs a little bit of tweaking. Right now it's like a server room, but fix it up a little bit so that I can have a presence in that district building, just like I have in the Post Falls district side. So that's just a little heads up. There might come a time where if you wanted to come see me, you might have to see me in Hayden. Otherwise, wait till I was back in Post Falls. I would go to throughout the week. I would be at both places. So this is a short-term solution to what I've always envisioned as a bigger project, which we're still be tackling. So that is the end of my update.
Anyone have any questions for the director, Trustee Claus?
So, Director, you mentioned about inappropriate material for children going to general collection. And I'm trying to think of that term. What policy is that in? I don't think I remember using that term.
Inappropriate?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's in our collection development policy. It's the selection one. It relates to those similar items that came to you not too long ago. There was a handful of those which were
it's in the selection policy, and it's
yeah, that's the only policy. Yeah, so
okay.
the other things are not they're the requests for relocations. We have those requests for relocation,
Right.
requests for reconsideration. But the main policy governing collections is the selection and acquisition policy. That's the right term.
So we said in that policy, those kind of book or I'll have to go back and review the term, but we're not gonna buy those books, so. we're
Yeah, that's,
saying
yeah, this
These are
is,
books that are in
yes,
house that meet that definition, but we're not buying them, we already bought them.
yeah, those are two different things, yeah.
Yeah.
One is that we have them, we're, obviously, the goal from the get-go was to make the children's collection, clean, for lack of a better term, but, something that the community wanted. So that's the project. We have some that violate the law, some don't violate the law, right? And so the inappropriate term comes from our policy. And also we have that feedback from the community, which kind of drives that as well. So,
Yeah.
so that's what we're talking about. But it's not about acquisitions of material. It's just about reclassification of material within the building itself.
Okay.
It's also good seeing our statistics are uphill this month. Those we've got across the board there. We have more material being checked out, so maybe it's just for the summer, I don't know.
Well, summer will always spike, more usage, so it's a good thing.
Us.
Is there any other more current feedback from Hayden? People who think that they shouldn't have to pay because or I mean, the Coeur d'Alene residents, but they're maybe going to Hayden. That's what we were starting to see. But is that falling off, or is that a concept?
It wouldn't surprise me if they're still getting those interactions at the front desk. It's not to the extent that it finds its way to my office. So in other words, if it was really heightened, I'd probably hear about it. But when we first dissolved,
Yeah.
I haven't heard. I have a public services manager who I meet with regularly, Nick Madsen. He hasn't brought it up as a hot topic right now. It's something we definitely want to look at, especially in relation to the $50 fee and as a revenue and subsidizing it in some way. So that's all still being talked about, but I have not received anything at my office level as far as, a demand.
Yeah, fees are coming in still, I can see
Yeah.
that. Okay. Other questions, discussion? No? Very good, okay. I'll move on now to the job description for the courier position. That is in our packet. Here's there were not many changes made to it. And as much as I'd like to, I didn't have any changes to make to it beyond what was already presented.
Yeah, again, I don't always have to say things, but I'm assuming you want to hear things.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, it's a very simple change. Basically, the real crux of it is that, with the resignation or departure of the previous courier, it made us, think about it a little more. We like to reassess things when there's always HR changes, but the real change here is that it makes more sense for the district to have the courier reside under the public services department than the technical services department. So it used to be obviously a CIN third-party courier, and tech services was really the heart of CIN and the ability to, to classify and move books around where you shared ILS systems and stuff. So in the absence of that, the bigger conversations that usually happen about courier happen at the branch level. Like the delivery, like you asked today, 2 times coming to Harrison, like it's the branch manager and the public services department, which really feels the impact of what's happening with courier. So we wanted to move courier into the public services department instead, and that's really the crux of this entire change. That's why the first red word is public up there, and then there's a little comment about working with the facilities manager as far as the maintenance of the vehicle is concerned. So that's it. It's a very straightforward change. It was recently done for the purposes of our in-house courier back in last year. So it's not, the meat of it is the same. It's just that one change.
Anyone have any questions, concerns, issues regarding the new job description for the courier? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve this library courier job description.
It has been moved to approve the career job description. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, guys have it, and the job description is approved. Moving on now further to the policy discussion. It was agenda item number 12 for the personnel policy manual. I guess it's a new section for social media and electronic communications. Do you wish to address it first? Would you like to talk?
yeah,
I want to-
sure.
I want to hear what you have.
I might as well.
I'm just not here. Thank you.
Actually, honestly, this one isn't even as much mine as it is more the CAO, but, in her capacity as HR, department. So, obviously, as I had, what you guys are aware of, the personnel policy manual is quite a significant document. I think it's 30+ pages. It's old. It's, 2012 maybe. And then there was an update. There was
24.
an update recently about one aspect of it. I think it was the vacations or something. Anyway, so this is, in that context, we're bringing to you a section of a much larger policy. We wanted to get this in there sooner rather than later. We will probably be bringing to you other updates or sections in the policy before we bring it like a full-on discussion about the whole thing. So this is one piece of that. It's a new piece. This refers to staff. It's a personnel, so it's personnel's use of social media. This isn't a policy about our social media or the communication marketing department. This is about, and that's why it's in the personnel manual. This is about staff use of social media and how it impacts the workplace. And workplace expectations. So yeah, it's a fresh document, eyes on it. I guess the question that may be asked, and I'm actually not sure the end, I think that we're kind of, legal has had eyes on it, but has not given us the feedback yet. So even if the board thought this was the greatest thing ever, still got to kick it to legal unless legal shows up and has something to say today, but that's kind of the status of it. So I don't expect you guys to, to approve it officially.
We don't do things
Until-
fast, don't worry.
Until legal looks at it. So that's the status of it. And there you go. That's my spiel.
Well, I'd like to open one. I did did a cursory review of the personnel manual. I don't see anything specifically covering this. I just went through that ahead of time. I'm kind of curious, this full discussion here, does that possibly belong in the personnel manual under section 3, I'll call it chapter 3? It says rules of employee conduct, which covers personal performance and behavior, workplace conduct, prohibited workplace conduct. So I'm just curious, is this properly placed? And I'll couple that with, this is for section 9 or chapter 9, and there is no chapter 8. So are we saving that for something else that we want to put in there? So I'm just more of a formatting rather than content, and it also says revision. Well, it's not a revision, it's a new thing, so it's a draft, I guess, but I'm being picky. So I need to understand where we're going with this. It's a brand new thing. It's a standalone appears chapter, if you want to call it, or section in the book. And is that a line, or should it be aligned with section 3 in the manual? This is page 3 of it. I mean, that's the personnel manual, so part of it. And so I'm just wondering, it's all.
Right.
Oh, yeah, so there, and this is section 9, it says. So,
But it's not workplace.
Yeah.
This is not workplace conduct that's being prohibited.
let's all
It's-
find out.
Just for
Don't be
clarification.
afraid of it. I want to know what you
No, no.
think.
I've actually, been working the last about 6 months on our personnel policy, going through it, legal as well. We've gone back and forth. This is certainly something that we need to update. So there is a section 8 that this was just one that we felt we should just, there's a lot. And it may be a complete rehaul. We're working with legal. I think he's on right now. Yes, so, I know he has some things to say about this as well. So really, it's exactly what the director said as well. There's revisions that I've made on this as well. And it's kicked over to, legal right now, and I believe he has revisions as well. My apologies, the board draft revision, this was the first time coming to you, so that's my error. I should have updated that, to reflect first draft coming to you. And so I know that it may not be in section 9. Do I think it should be in 3? Personally, I don't.
Just asking.
Yes, so again, it could look completely different at the end of this. This was just us bringing it to you and letting you know that this is something that HR, myself, the director, and legal were really trying to tackle and update, because it's been a while.
Okay, there was no section 8 as of last night.
No, there's a section 8 in my,
Oh, you
and
might
so
have-
this,
oh,
these are all additions that I have been working on, and so I just left it the way that I'm recreating some
So
of
there's
these
an 8
updates.
in progress somewhere.
Yeah,
We don't see,
and a
because I
10,
went online
And an
last night
11.
just to make sure. So unless you put 8 in there
No.
this morning before the meeting.
It is
Okay.
not board approved, so it is not in there. I'm not sure if Colton wanted to speak into this at all.
Yeah, trustee Boston.
So I guess I'm not familiar with the whole policy. I should have looked it over better, but it kind of seems to me like corrective action and discipline would kind of be something that would be a section, and it would apply to anything. So any type of bad behavior would feed to section 10, corrective action, discipline or something. You wouldn't, or do you repeat the same kinds of corrective action in every section? But this just kind of looks like a 9513 that is just listing behavior that needs correction. It's not listing the corrective action. So that's, under work, I guess. But it just seemed like maybe it should be that corrective action should be in another section.
Yeah, I think again, like the CAO mentioned, we're showing sort of the skeleton of what the objective is here. And to trustee Hanley's point, I mean, you could subsume this in another section. And to trustee Boss's point as well. So you could, if you were to put this in section 3, you'd miss the opportunity, because there's only one purpose and scope and definitions in those sections, which would add different purposes specific to this. So we're showing you what it would look best like on its own, right? And then it would definitely kick to the other sections that it applied to, as far as why investigations, and all those kind of things. So as we rework it, and depending on what legal says, you could pepper it throughout the whole document. It might be a little bit harder, because you like to have that purpose, scope, definitions, right, parameters right next to it, And some of the things listed in 9.513, like best right there, rather than like a workplace conduct generalities, and then you list these specifics. So we're not saying it needs to be passed in this particular fashion. We just want to get this ball rolling about this content and what the objective is. So, but yes, we definitely would have to make sure it meshed properly with the overall document, as far as, linking to different sections. Even if it stayed this way, 9.513 would have to maybe have an additional thing like that it's going to kick to, or is it section 6?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, there could be things like that, which help a person navigate through the whole document. But honestly, our biggest concern right now would actually be legal's commentary on some of the actual content in this, some of the wording, and some of what the objectives are, and make sure they pass legal muster. And so this is just the best way that we could present it.
Right, I was just wondering if this had any kind of when legal count, weighs in on this thing, if any of what's in here. It has like a chilling effect on, let's say, employees. We'll call it, ability to exercise their First Amendment right stuff. And this is potentially touchy material that I think unquestionably needs a good legal review to make sure we're not going off the rails here.
Yep.
Absolutely. I never saw the term, I don't think I did, one of these headings, savings clause. Is this like a catch-all, like, I'm not sure what that, is that in any other policies? I just don't recall seeing it before. It's the very last, heading when there's a savings clause. Is it?
It is not anything in our policy. It is a very common used policy. I don't.
Which means what kind of?
I mean, it's exactly that. It's like, it's a savings clause. So it's referring back to what you just even mentioned about your First Amendment rights and, it's just an additional clause in there to remind a staff member, employee, board that some things don't supersede other things. And so like your constitutional rights still supersede a policy.
Okay, just make sure because people have certain rights and abilities in their private capacity and so,
Absolutely.
yeah. I went through it rather carefully and I don't think I personally could find anything in here of concern. I'm not legal, obviously. So this, yes, trustee Foss, please.
So there has been some, back, trustee Hanley and I ran, our campaign. There were CLN employees, I think, that, spoke out and made it clear either, I wasn't watching Facebook and some of the things that, but I think it was social media, kind of a campaign against our positions. And since then, there have been meetings at Coeur d'Alene Library where CLN employees have stood up. I don't know if they had CLN logo on, but shouldn't there be something that an employee can't? I know they have the right to have their own views, but there, other than online, shouldn't there be something where they can't publicly
Disparage their employer?
Yeah, or, put posters up at their desk or something saying, kind of countering what, or, I don't know, bumper stickers on their car or whatever, countering what the position is, and particularly against, protecting children from these books. I guess I'm not real specific, but it seems like it should be more far reaching than just online or social media. There should be something and maybe it is in the other parts of the manual.
Yeah, there are, so in section 3, I think it is, 3.3, it lists a whole bunch of workplace prohibited activities.
Okay.
And it does talk about political action and that, so it does, that section speaks more to any sort of, I guess, physical manifestation versus online. So this is just about online, right?
Okay.
And again, I do think, obviously, when we do get to the workplace, when we do get to section 3, that'll be a whole other ballgame, legal, conversations, right? So, I think in this case, yeah, those examples already have some bullet points in section 3 that relate to it. Whether they're robust enough or how they're interpreted, but that exists there. This is a thing apart, but
Okay.
related. And I think our attorney is on the call there. So if he would like to speak about this, I think he can
Counsel?
navigate his way into this.
I think he's still muted.
So on his own, you think? Or
No, there he
by
is.
Megan shutting people down?
Here's
She's-
the picture.
Here we are. Did you
Yeah,
wish to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
Any questions posed, but you guys are flying right along, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, I think we're maybe covered as much as we needed to so far on the employee conduct and workplace expectations with regard to social media and electronic communication. So I guess we're just asking if, I don't know if you were able to hear us before, is there anything you wish to add to this? Because I think where we're going with this is unless I hear something from the other trustees, we're gonna say, I'm assuming we're gonna say that we want to send it in now for council to review it and, see if you see any holes in it and things concerns and go back and eventually approve it, or if there are changes, make changes.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan, and depending on the progress that, Yasmin and Martin have made on their holistic review, because it's quite the undertaking to go through the whole policy right now, depending on where that is and the timeliness of inserting this there and how that looks to them. I mean, we could potentially have this ready to go next month. It's pretty industry standard for a governmental agency to have a social media policy that applies both to how, the director and his staff engage in social media, as well as what an employee can do off on their own time, and clarify that, we're not going to be really interfering with what they do as a citizen. However, once that starts overlapping with speaking on behalf of the community library network, we can have some pretty robust restrictions on that. And so I think the draft we have is a really, really good start. And it just needs to be put into context with the rest of the policy revisions, really. So I think we're well on our way.
Very good, thank you. Any other trustees have any other further discussion regarding this item? No, so I guess we sort of agree that we'll give it back to staff to work with in conjunction with council and refine it or change it or tell us it looks good and then come back, whether it's August or September, and approve this. Is that, everyone okay with that, trustee Plus?
Yeah, I don't think you can do any particular action, but I
We
mean,
can't, no, well, we can't, I'm not,
we can make a recommendation, I guess, or something that to continue. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think we don't have to actually make a motion, I don't think. We can go ahead if we're good with that, and we'll go ahead and have it worked on further, or at least reviewed again between council and staff, and then if we have no issues with it, let's represent it, and we can vote on it next time around, or a month after that. Very good. Okay, that wraps up that item on the agenda, and I think we now go to our favorite break time. And we'll take a 10-minute break, so it's now 3:35, we'll say 3:46. I'm sorry, yeah, 3:46, see you back. Okay, we're reconvening. We'll now move on to the budget, I believe is next. Let me double check. Yes, programming. Oh, I'm sorry, no. Go to the programming budget discussion. I believe that was the director at that one.
Yeah, so this has been asked for a few times,
Yeah.
and I said I would do it this time.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this isn't directly related to the next agenda item, which is the budget, but and this is, I've just allotted 10 minutes for it. It's kind of an intro, a summary. You'd ask for some more details. I'm willing to talk about and field any questions, but I just want to point out that next meeting is the presentation for the programming department. So if there's any, if you want really in-depth answers to some specific programs, they'll be able to answer that certainly next month. I just you guys wanted sort of a breakdown of just a sense of what the budget was like and how it relates to programming. So that's what this is.
What kind of what we were kind of spending the money
Yeah,
on
yeah.
over the past year or so.
Yeah, so that's
okay.
this thing. And again, it was a table packet, and I sent it electronically to the two trustees that aren't here. And I'll just run through it with it. Again, I can't take credit for a lot of this, that both Marie Shockley, who's the adult program manager, and then Karen Schmidt, who's the youth program manager, provided me with this data. I kind of just truncated it a bit to fit on fewer pages and what I thought might be best for you guys to digest. So the first page is youth programming. Their budget is $30,000. You see the three columns there of what Karen is able to get through grants and donations. And then the middle column is what the actual budget is. And then I crimp. And then over on the right, you see the number of programs. So that colorful legend on the side there, BTP, that's broken down below. So that's baby, toddler, preschool, kids, and teens. Now she has, as you can see there, 1,159 programs. So I couldn't give a breakdown of specific programs the way I do for the adult programming. But so that's why you get the bullet points. So these are examples of what's in the baby, toddler, preschool type of programming, and then kids programming and teen programming. So again, we can provide as much depth as we need to provide for you, but this is just to give a sample of where the budget, how it's being spent. So, and I remember last time, I think when I gave you a first draft, I increased their budget closer to what I know they spend. And then when we ended up going back down to sort of an operating that they've had like 30,000. So $30,000 is what they spend, and that's that middle column there. 3,959 typically going to baby, toddler, preschool, 19,000 to the kids, which is a bigger group, 5 to 12 range, the school age range, and then the teens, the smaller amount, and then some office supplies. So that's basically the breakdown of where they're spending the money. Just a little bit of extra data as far as that's concerned. So the ICRIMP funds, which is a small portion of that larger ICRIMP number. So the like 99.8% of that ICRIMP number, which you see on the budget, that's for collection material. But there was a small section of ICRIMP that was supposed to go to replacing program material. So some of the examples of that would be we replaced story time carpet squares, things that were damaged in the flood, cushions, some board games. So there were specific types of materials that the ICRIMP money is used for. And then the grant money typically just supplements things that, and I think Karen's usual go-to is she uses the grant money for more giveaway material. So if they're getting you know, a large number of books for the kindergarten boot camp, or the 100 or 1,000 books before kindergarten, or those kind of programs, the grant money is being used for those giveaway items, right? Whether it's scholastic books or some other kind of item like that. So again, and she can speak more to this when she gives her presentation. And then just a little note about the in-kind box in the corner there. So these are partners who don't give us money, but give us the equivalent of that in various things. So for example, the North Idaho State Fair, we usually give about 1,600 passes to the library to make use of for our programs. 85 admission passes, 15 parking passes for the state fair. The Speedway is giving 1,000 passes, 5,000 books to give away is from ICFL, 1,000 activity books, United Way, North Idaho for the launch into learning. So 700 Idaho State passes. So that's what the in-kind box refers to. So this gives you an idea that we're actually, Karen works very hard to get that supplemental funding to be able to produce the kind of programs which we have here. So yeah, I can keep going and you can talk about ask after, but so that's the youth programming page.
Quick question.
Yep. Yeah.
So in the in-kind, CLN would not be buying passes for the state fair or for the Speedway or.
Yeah.
No. So these are just extras that you can put in to attract people to come to the program, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna get.
Why is that giving free passes to the fair a benefit for the library?
Some of it goes to our own staff, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Megan because she used to be in that department and probably knows more, but some of it's going to be because we're using, like, our staff are there, we have a booth there for the whole time, right? I'm guessing we probably give some away as gifts, as like rewards for summer reading challenges, things like that, so prizes. So a lot of the in-kind stuff is probably gonna be prizes, so you get a prize ticket to the Speedway, right? So prizes, probably linked in with our programs themselves, staff being in a certain place. So that's probably the gist of the in-kind usage. And again, it's hard for me to give an enormous amount of detail when when you see the adult programs, there's much fewer programs, right? So there's 1,159 programs total that youth does with 55,693 participants, right? So this is kind of just to give a general idea. And, but certainly if you have more questions about like specifics, she gave me a big list of like, you know, for example, the grant funds for fiscal year 26, they purchased a pottery wheel, some clay, pottery tools, tarps, cleaning supplies, planetarium projectors, fans, so things that are above and beyond of what we can afford within our 30,000. She's being able to get through the grant funding. So I can extract, yes.
Other question, so programs and attendance up on the top, so that baby, toddler, preschool, there's been 500 programs. This is throughout the CLN libraries. So are we doing, I mean, if we're doing one a week at each library, we must be doing a lot of these.
Yeah, these will be,
There's
so
52 weeks and
Yeah.
over 10 libraries, we'd have 500, but.
so statistically, I'm gonna guess if we're doing a 6-week session of a story time, each session is being counted. It's not story time programs, right? It's all anytime there's a program, we're counting the total number. Same with attendance, right? These aren't 20,000 individuals. This is Johnny's going to all these programs, and Johnny's being counted as an attendee at every program. Right, so just to give a background or a context for that statistic, usually when you do program statistics for libraries, we like the bigger numbers, right? So Johnny's getting counted every time that he goes to a program, right? And every instance of a program is counted as a program, not like series or not a category of programs.
Is there any statistics of other, I mean, their ROI for the dollar amount, but the payoff of how many people are reading more books, or how many books are being checked out as a result of these programs, or how many people are getting introduced to the library that didn't come before?
Yeah, I mean, that is a statistic you could extrapolate. It wouldn't necessarily come from the program department. It would be like looking at the program. It occurs at 10 a.m. at Hayden, it goes to 11, and then looking at CERC stats and just anecdotal data from the CERC desk where they're saying, oh, so if you look at the CERC stats for the day and there's a spike at 11, right? So we know the spike is related to the attendance or the influx, right? Just like we saw with the visitors in June, right? The visitors in June is going up because of programs that are happening and people are coming in, right? And so you see those spikes both annually with visits, but you'd also see the spikes daily with CERC, right?
What about cards, new cards, library cards?
That's probably easier to track. Again, all this would be trackable because you would know the date the card was established and who did it. Some of it could be anecdotal where I could get that feedback from the staff saying, oh yeah, we did 30 cards today because this program came in, right? So that stat can be achieved. It wouldn't be a stat just from the program department because some of this just transfers into the CERC desk where the programmer does the program. And even while they're cleaning up the program, all the parents and kids have gone to the children's section, gotten the books, done the CERC side of it, right? So it's definitely a stat you can get. It's not a perfect stat. It's not a pure stat. You have to extrapolate that there's a causal factor there, but.
Well, I'd encourage them to try to come up with the metrics, because that's what is going to sell me more on programs. If I can see some results, we're getting more cards issued, you know, the same day, people that attended, we're introducing people to the library.
Yeah, it's one metric. I mean, the bigger one for me.
Anything they can come up with, I would like to see.
Yeah,
as well.
no, absolutely. We can definitely dig deeper. I mean, but again, I just caution that it's only one metric, right? The other metric would be, because you could have people coming to these programs who don't necessarily circulate books, right? But that's okay, right? Another metric, for example, for summer reading is especially like if you could, which you can't, it's very hard to do, but if you knew Johnny was getting a B in June and came back and he did a full summer reading program with the library and gets an A in his first report card in September, you see that there's a upward trajectory in his IQ or whatever, and whatever the metric is. And then you get Freddie, who spends all summer, you know, whatever, jumping in the lake, having a good time, doesn't do any summer reading. Does he, what they call the summer slide academically, right? So those kinds of metrics are also extremely valuable, but they're not necessarily tied directly to, right? And that's just, we're talking kids versus adults, as we'll get to in a minute. Like, there's a certain value in programming, which isn't directly related to circulation, or even card membership, for that matter, right? So it's just important to keep that in mind, because I wouldn't want to tie the value just to that one thing. But yes, we can definitely show those spikes. Anyway, just, I don't want to make this too long, but just to flip to the other side is the adult programming. And this one's a little bit easier to show more in depth, because so as you see there were 97 unique programs. They have an $18,000 budget, 6,212 participants, and this is fiscal year to April. So almost two quarters in a month, right? So fiscal year to April, because that's where Marie cut off the statistic gathering for my request. But anyway, so this just shows some of that data. And so for that amount of time, cost for programs was $7,090. It's in that box there. And then she spends about $2,000 or so for the general support. So this is where you're buying things which will be used at multiple locations. It's not just one program, but it is used throughout. And they're very good at, like, if what they use at the Jane Austen tea will be the same thing they might use at the mother-daughter tea, or so they're able to, reuse resources and be really efficient in that sense. So that just shows that. And then about a 14% is coming from the Friends. And then below those two charts, we saw sort of a projection for the remainder of the year. She's projecting 8,900, again, with around a $2,000 general support amount. So the grand total for her budget is 20,265, of which approximately 14% is. She'll get about 2,500 from the Friends. So she's also sitting within budget. Marie doesn't rely as heavily on grants. Obviously, it's kind of apples and oranges. Youth programming is a different thing than adult. Adult programming is much more facilitation, much more hosting of events, rather than the sort of the typical understanding we have of children with, like, story times and all the kids in the room, and you're reading them a book and stuff. So it's a little bit of a different animal when it comes to what the programming departments do. But then I was able, because there was only 97, I was able to actually give you the next rest of it is just a table showing all 97 programs, the attendance number, and the cost. And I actually sorted it by cost, so you could see how many. I think there were 60 or so that we could do without spending any money, right? And then it's only when you get down to the bottom section of page 4, you see $2.54 to do the dye Easter eggs and silk ties. So that's when the money starts kicking in. So, and that's not to say that it's zero cost for all those first 64. It is zero cost for those programs, but again, they're making use of the money they're spending on the resources which they're able to reuse and stuff. So if they have stuff, they're able to use it. So by no cost, we're meaning, like, there's no specific cost for this program. Doesn't mean they had no tangibles or they did nothing, right? Obviously, they did something in the crochet series or the blind date with a book, right? So anyway, so that's just to give a sample. I think it's important, right, to see both, what gets the traction for attendance, and then what we're able to do, like for zero cost. We have 113 people involved in the chess, then and now, which was a passive sort of program about local history, I think, gets 1,160 participants. So for passive programs, that means it's there in the library and people can come and go. It isn't necessarily a facilitation for a locked amount of time, but it's a passive program. And then we calculate the attendance, people going through it. So, and as you'll see, usually the most expensive things are when we're, bringing in a musician or something that costs the fees basically going to the facilitator or the presenter, I guess is better. The presenter. So Peter Fletcher, obviously the bottom there, 56 attendees for his classical guitar evening or session. So that's just meant to give you sort of a breakdown of, and again, this would be really hard to do for youth because there's just so many programs and it's hard for Karen to break down a cost amount, for a single story time kind of scenario. But it's a little bit easier with programming to show that. So anyway, it wasn't meant to be exhaustive, but just to give you a sense of the bottom line is we get such positive feedback from programming, that sometimes you don't even need to pursue statistics, right? Because the community loves it. The community loves our programmers, you know, Katie, for example, at Hayden is always getting commendations and so it's almost like a no-brainer how positive the programming is for the library. And then the ability to achieve that with the kind of, so as far as you guys are concerned, the operating budget, you know, we're only basically it's half of what Karen uses or needs to do her things, right? And adult programming is something that usually grows later, like in, you know, it's something that a library needs to really be interested in and invest in. Youth programming or children's programming is like every library's bread and butter, right? It's you almost never have to go to bat for it. Everybody expects it, they know it, they love it. Adult programming is usually something that is more of a focused attention gets put on it, right? The director, librarian will say, you know, we really want to push this more, adult literacy, get our community involved, and those kind of things. And we saw from the strategic plan that one of the most positive feedback loops was how much people like adult programming and how much they wanted more of it and stuff. So anyway, so that's my little spiel. Again, this was meant to just encourage you to appreciate the budget requests as far as programming is concerned and how much we're able to get done. And any really in-depth questions about programming, you certainly have a month to think about. And they provided me with this, so they know that you have this and they'll be ready to be able to answer further questions. And I can.
So there's one that I see, Mike Blackbird author talk on the last page.
Mhm.
I would have thought you'd be having more authors coming in and maybe book signings or something, but is that hard to do?
It's not as hard to do. So that's one. If you go look further down, we actually did a whole celebration. It was called the Local Author Celebration. This is the 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the fifth from the bottom. It had 258 participants. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, author talks can be hit or miss, right? You could bring in the greatest author and you could get 2 people that night, right? Can be tough. So the approach there in that case was actually more like a fair where there were multiple authors in the building at the time, people could move around, right? So it's always something the libraries try to perfect as they go. And again, I've always told my programming that I wouldn't be too worried about the attendance column, you know? I mean, getting 8 people in for something or 4 people in for something can also be a win, right? And it could be the beginning of something, right? Where if this is the first time you tried it and you got 4 and then you keep doing it year over year and it builds to 10 to 12 to 20, that's great, right? So I don't necessarily get too concerned about, and now obviously if we're going to spend big money on a classical guitarist, right? And you get 2 people in, then we live and learn, right? So a lot of adult programming is trial and error, right? We have great ideas. We try the idea. We always have to make sure that marketing and communications is involved because the last thing you want is someone coming in the next day and saying, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing that. I would have come if I knew," right? Which we get all the time. But that's also an obstacle to it. But anyway, so I think it's important you see the attendance, but it's not, to me, it's not the only metric. Sometimes it's worth doing. It's just like with books, right? I mean, just because no one takes out Hamlet doesn't mean it isn't the greatest play of all time, right? You know what I mean? So just because they'll take it out doesn't mean it's not great. So I like to encourage the programmers to do great things. And if it takes time for the community to catch up, so be it, right? But we're gonna keep doing it. So anyway, again, I'm willing to field more questions. It was just meant to give you a sampling of where the money's going, how much it actually takes to do this.
The other big part that's not in here is what percent of the salaries go to this. I don't know the people count.
Yeah.
How many you have, maybe not so much the salary percentage, but you're pulling this off with this amount of money, but we're also budgeting salary.
Yes.
towards this.
100%. That to me, that would be a different discussion. That would be a salaries discussion. I
Well,
wouldn't be able to pull that from.
Number of people.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm giving you data from the programming department.
We've got a lot of people
They don't
doing this. And
Yes.
I need to see results, I guess, is kind
Yeah.
of.
And no, I understand.
Yeah.
To me, that wasn't the goal of this evening's presentation,
Okay.
which I think it is an important discussion, which I would probably want to piggyback into an actual budgetary salary related discussion, which departments are running efficiently, which departments are lean, like, you know, obviously I went from a one-person finance HR department, right, which was a bad idea and struggling, to a four-person, right, structure, right? So those kinds of discussions are great, but that's not what I was asking for here from the department. I just wanted the background on the spending. But yes, we could definitely have a conversation at some point about the leanness or the, you know, the efficiency of each department and the personnel involved, which is, again, different
I'm
discussion.
just gonna say, I appreciate the amount of time that went into this, because we work and a number of our other board members were concerned, where is our money going? What are we getting, what are we buying basically with programs? And I think this provides a little more light on it. And I did think about a long time ago when I was going to school, going to marketing, and what I didn't like about it is it's hard to have a correlation between an activity or an advertisement and the results. So I don't know how you can say, well, there were X number of programs, and then how do you measurably say, well, that boosted the number of people by, getting cards, showing up at the library, increasing the circulation. I don't know. So I feel like it's a soft subject. It's hard to put exact measurements on personally.
No, absolutely.
And if that was high on the list, it was, I think, at the surveys from the community and rating programs rather highly, I don't think we can ignore it. I mean,
Oh, no.
we asked for feedback, and that's what the community told us.
I know what I learned during the campaign, but that was about specific areas, and I didn't have people telling me what they thought about programs. But so we need the strategic plan and feedback. So there's more than what I know. So.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion regarding the programming budget thing that the director presented to us? No?
I'd like to
Yes.
say, I just want to let them all know that I'm really impressed with everything that they're able to do with the amount of money that they have and how creative they are. And I've had a lot of feedback from people in the community that think that our programming's exceptional. So I really appreciate all the work they do with this budget.
Thank you. Good. Okay, we'll move on now to the fiscal year 2027 budget discussion. And I'm not sure what changed all of a sudden. I think that the staff wanted to try out their new copiers and give us more color copies. So I don't know what changed between what we got in our table packet, our mailed in packet versus, I don't know, but versus what just came in right now.
Yeah, so, yeah, this is just a slight change. I'll explain that. I just wanted to inform the two trustees that aren't here that this was also emailed out to you recently, though, so you might have to check. If you haven't checked your email,
Okay.
it was emailed out to you in the context of this meeting, just before the meeting or something, so it is there. But again, what happened was we had the first draft that you got in the packet, the 0% column was basically the current year's column. And one could extrapolate enough, but when I went back and listened to the video, I think some of the trustees made it clear they actually wanted a 0% column, which would reflect the changes that you'd seen in the 1% column without the actual 1%. So that's the only difference, is basically instead of the 0% column in your original package version being the same thing as the current year column, now you have a 0% column, which is a legitimate 0% column in the sense that all of the other changes are there. The only thing that isn't there is the 1% change that you would see in the kind of darker blue 400 property tab where you guys gave the 1%. So other than that, it's pretty much the same. That's the difference. So if you're not interested in giving us 0%, that'd be really easy for you. You don't even have to look at this new one. You could just look at the one you had in the package. So if you're ruling out 0%, which would be, just so much more convenient, then you can look at the original. But if you're interested in the 0% column, it's there now.
I think we were also looked at the time, last meeting was to include growth.
Yeah, so growth is there.
That as well.
Yeah, I think we've tried to hit everything you'd asked for. So the growth is there now. It's the The first column that has the 400 GL is the growth estimate. And again, it is an estimate, you know, that's the best it can be, at this time. So yeah, so you're looking at a 0, 1, 2, and 3% column. And not much else has changed. There's a little bit, obviously, as you probably got to know how I like to do things. The big deal is how I'm handling reserve funds, right? So the green shaded area, especially the bottom green shaded area, is where all the magic's happening.
The point now when we have questions in general and concerns to be aired. Because we have this round here we're looking at now, and then if we make a decision on a percentage here today, and I assume we then leave it at that and then wait until we have our budget hearing.
Yeah, I believe the process is that you will want to kind of vote on a percentage. Then that gets published ahead of the budget hearing. And based on last year, I think from I remember, Rochelle was saying that if you want to change the percentage and go up, you have to do more work than if you go high and you go down. So I think last year you actually went 3% in the publication,
Yes,
even though you didn't necessarily intend to do that.
right.
So, and that was in order to make it a little bit more easier for you to make the change. So if
We
you
can't-
want,
we
if you
can't
wanted to
publish a
go,
low number.
yeah,
and then
if you
boost
wanted
it
to
up
go
the public.
1% and you say we're 101% and you do 1% and we publish 1%, and then at the budget hearing, a lot of people show up and say, no, we love you guys, you're the greatest, give them 2%, give them 3%. It would be a lot harder for you to change, right? You have to go through the whole publication process again. Whereas if you don't do that, then you can just make the change, right? So I'm not trying to do that to manipulate your decisions, but I'm just saying that that's the reason why last year you went 3% for the publication ahead of the budget hearing, and then made your decision the week after the budget hearing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that allowed us when there was some kind of a levy or there was a problem with regard to utilities or something in the state. It allowed us actually to move up the percentage to accommodate that at the time without having to re-advertise, I believe.
Yeah, there was an additional factor, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a few steps in this process, because the L2 is due in early September, and then there's still some calculations at that point. So it's not, right now, you basically need to kind of commit to a percentage. So for example, Trustee Ploss earlier mentioned that he wants to hold off on making a decision until he sees the July tax. So great, so I would suggest choose a higher percentage to approve now, because if you go lower and then you see the tax number and that tax number is not good, you bound yourself, right? So it's just a prudent thing to do. You're not, it's just prudence, basically. If you go too low now, you're gonna make it harder. And I think most of the public understand that. That's what the whole point of the budget hearing is. So anyway, just
So
throwing that
just
out
go
there.
3 and keep you happy, right? Only kidding.
Well, I think 3 would be lovely.
Trustee Plus.
So I got two things. Even if it takes a special meeting, I want to know where we're at at the end of July, and it's actually July 25th, so we'll know that number. Because if we have extra funds, I don't want to take more money from the taxpayers than I need to. And we won't know that until then. And I don't know if our meeting is the 16th of August.
No, the budget hearing is the 13th.
13th.
The regular meeting is the week after.
We have to publish before or we publish after?
Yeah, I think I checked, like last year, we published in Shoshone's paper on the 1st of August. So that would be the issue, right? The timing, because I think their paper comes out less frequently, but that's there's a timing issue. We need to
Right.
have it published ahead of the budget hearing.
And then the third thing is I'm very much opposed to telling the public we're doing 3%, because it makes us look like we're tone deaf to the people out there. I don't want to tell taxpayers that we're going 3%, just to get them to come to the meeting and say, don't go 3%. I think that's a really bad idea to tell the people you're gonna take more money and then publish it and announce it. Do not tell people we're taking the max just so we have flexibility, because you're tone deaf to the people that are having to pay more taxes. So what I want to look at is the money, and I guess it goes back to that net balance sheet, but the money that we have left after we got a separate account for the $1 million for the 2 months. And at the end of July, we'll have August, September, October, even though at the end of August, we should be able to predict at a 500, well, what is our burn rate? Is it still 500,000?
Between 4 and 5 is what we were estimating last time. When we set the 900,000 into the other account.
Right, but I don't know whether it's been updated, but I would like to estimate what is going to be our balance January 25th when we get the next payment. That's what we have to go. It isn't just till
July.
September.
July 25th. You said January, just.
No, I'm saying January. That's the next
the next
payment.
one.
So at the end of July, if we've got an extra $1 million in that account after we take is it 6 months times, or, 3 million to get us to January 25th. If we've got an extra $1 million in there, an extra 500,000, this 1%, this 1% is 52,000. And I don't want to go to 3% if that's 150,000, if we've got an extra, 400,000 in there. We can do the same thing and use that bank account to help fund the same thing here. And I'm not prepared to decide that. I'd rather have a special meeting July 26th to decide this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to, just because you have extra money doesn't mean it should automatically go to operational things, right? So I'm presenting a budget that's meant you could bank on it. You can bank on this operational budget. If you're waiting to see, oh, we have an extra 400,000, we can have a conversation about what to do with that. Our emergency fund's low, 900,000. CARF is down to like 20,000 in the year 31 or 37. So there's other things you could do with extra money. So just to automatically say extra money, therefore don't make decisions about the actual operational piece. Like the public library operates on the taxes. That's what we should be looking at, not the other things, which we can't bank. We can't bank on the fact that we happen to have 400,000 in trust right now. We might not have 400,000 in trust 5 years from now. Right, so we need to make sure that, I think the decision, I've heard a lot of things that are said, but to me, the decision should be much more focused on the operational side of the budget. Should you go 1%, 2%, or 3%?
But your operational is not changing. What's changing is how much you take out of ICRIMP, how much you take out of these things. That's what I'm opposed to.
Which is why it would be better for you to give me 2%.
No.
Because if you look at the math, if you give 2%, my reserve lasts 4 years.
Right.
If you give me
I want
1%, my reserve lasts
I want the
2.7 years,
operation.
and that's the problem
I
for
want
me.
I want the operational budget to adjust depending on how much you get, instead of going into ICRIMP funds.
But if you look at it, ICRIMP, this isn't about ICRIMP anymore, because based on the feedback, if you look at the ICRIMP line, we're gonna use ICRIMP. Once and for all, we're gonna use it. And I said over in the corner, like you'd asked, like, what are we gonna use it on? ICRIMP will be used on the Class 6 project and consortium losses. Right, so the end of next year, right?
Where do I see that?
This is the very bottom green section.
Oh.
How we're balancing the budget using the reserve funds, because you'd asked, like, you wanted to see that broken out. So rather than before, when I presented the budget and I showed incremental uses of ICRIMP, I'm not doing that here. 100% iCrimp is gonna be used for Class 6 projects and consortium losses. So, you know, at the end of the year, collection development, CAO and I will be able to say, hey, yeah, we spent, you know, 225,000, we spent 25,000 on these books, and we spent, you know, 16,000 on this project, because we realized that Inland Northwest Share, whatever they're called, had these books and we didn't, and our patrons wanted them. So that's fine. So iCrimp's kind of out of it, CARP's kind of out of it, and the benefit fund's out of it. The only issue left is the trust request funds, right? And we have 400 and something thousand. We have 479,586, which we have to use for Hayden, Pinehurst, and Post Falls, right? So this is why it's really important to me. If you choose to only give, if you gave 0%, you would eat half of that. If you give me 1%, my reserve fund will last me 2.7 years. If you give me 2%, great number, 2%, it lasts me 4 years, which gives me a buffer for all these other things we're talking about, which is like, oh, unpredictable. Are we gonna get this tax, that tax? How much of the pre-25 tax are we getting? These are all unpredictables. And I mean, that's great, but I think unpredictable money is great money to be able to use for fun things, more carf, you know, this project, that, like, but you don't bank your operations on unpredictable money, right? So to me, what's predictable is that if you give me 2% and I use 118,303 of the reserve, I can do that for 4 years. Like, assuming that everything else was to stay the same with the regular growth, 8% here, whatever, you know, utilities. But to me, that's the critical line. There's no line numbers here, but it's the second to last green shaded line, trust bequest fund.
But I'm looking for other things to be adjusted, such as how much we spend on, you know, the courier, or how much we spend on training, or how much we spend on
But you can see,
salaries.
but you can see the adjustments there, right?
But the
Well,
adjustment is coming out of one place.
No,
the
but
trust.
anytime you see red, right? Anytime you see red, I've had to make an adjustment. Or anytime you see a 0%, like there's one, that if you just go down the first blue budget assumption percent column, anytime you see 0% increase, that's the library making a decision about a GL code we have some control over. I'm not increasing things that I don't have to increase, and I'm decreasing things that I can increase. But if you're saying, well, you'd like to see me decrease salaries or decrease,
I'm saying between the different columns, the 1%, 2%, I don't see anything changing to the left. All I see is a fixed amount.
yeah, because those columns represent what it will take to get this done. Right?
But we don't have the flexibility to say we want to cut back on library equipment and not buy as many computers. That's what I'm looking to do. If we do 2% versus 3%, we don't buy as many computers.
Yeah, you would like
or something.
You'd like to see cuts. See, cuts is the negative budgetary term. We do cuts, right? But
what you're doing is just
cuts.
you're just taking it out of this trust fund.
But I'm using the trust fund for its proper purpose, right? In other words, if the board says we want cuts, right, then you're basically telling me to make cuts I don't need to make. If I had no trust fund, if I had no other money to be able to use, right, then yeah, I'd have to make cuts. And I would have brought you a budget filled with cuts in areas that I can cut. Right now, I have brought you a budget where there are cuts in the sense that I've decreased lines I could, I didn't increase lines I don't need to increase. But I can't help but increase utility lines, insurance lines, legal lines, right? Salary, these always get increases. Just naturally, like economically naturally, whatever that term is, or the natural term for economics is, like normally, right? They go up by a certain percentage. I think that is an important column to look at, right? Look at the percentage column. And then ask yourself, what's the director trying to do here? Why is he going -20, -66, -15, 0? Okay, technically those are cuts, right? Or non-increases. A question? Oh,
Yeah,
we have a
I-
question, sorry.
I think the bigger picture here and the bigger question is, because I really do appreciate that you want to use all of these funds, and it's really great that we have these funds, and it's pretty clear to me when I dug pretty deeply that
if we don't raise taxes, then we use more of these funds. But even if we raise taxes at 3%, it's only a little over $150,000, which is mice nuts compared to the deficit that's sitting here without using those funds. So my concern is more of a philosophical concern. I'm fiscally conservative. I ran as a fiscal conservative, and I get really irritated when I vote for conservatives who then go into office, and I think there's going to be big change, and I think there's going to be some cuts and some decrease in taxation, and then there's not. And so I definitely know that there are a lot of people that feel like the library should operate within its means and should not continually bloat its budget. And we do have these funds that we can use, and we can use them without burdening the taxpayer further. So to me, it's much more of a philosophical question of, do we go to the taxpayer at every turn for more money, or are we more creative with our budget? I'd like to err on the side of being more creative with the budget. I understand that most of our budget is definitely weighted to salaries. I am a little I question a little bit, because a lot of people I know in the county don't receive a COLA of 4.5% every year. They don't receive extra merit pay every year. So I think it's really hard for us to go to the taxpayer and ask them for more money when they're not getting more money. So that's like just sort of a philosophical question. I think it's great that we have these funds that you are able to use instead of cutting different things within the budget. But I do think for the future, moving forward, we have definitely safely 2 years from these funds, but after that we don't, and we don't know how we're going to get them. But even if we went to 3% year for the next few years to the taxpayer, it's still not enough money to make up the amount of money that we have in these funds. So I just think we should really think about our philosophy in general of, are we always going to go to the taxpayer for more money, which I realize other agencies without the county do that. But in general, I don't feel comfortable constantly going back to the taxpayer and saying, you have to live within your means, but we're going to go and tax you a little bit more for the library. It's just uncomfortable for me. That's what I think.
I agree with everything Victoria just said. Just wanted to put that out there.
I wasn't sure if you were in or not there. Thank you. C plus.
So that's why I'd like to know how much extra money we have July 25th, looking forward to the next payment, January 25th. Because if we can do all the things you want to do, I don't want to sock away extra or be taking more money from the taxpayer. I'd rather give them a 0% and use the money we have. We already took the money from them. So that's my thinking. Yes, we can put more in CARF. We can put more towards, I guess it would go CARF to, for plans for building out Hayden. We can start to put money away for some of those things. But in general, if we've taken too much money or taken more money than we needed from the taxpayer, they should get a break, and we should take 0 or 1%. And I hate to dig it out of these funds, because these trust bequest funds, maybe that really should be going for building out Hayden instead of funding, what we have to do. But that's my thinking.
I got two thoughts on it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. You guys can go back to your thoughts. I just wanted to clarify, the 4.5% isn't a COLA. The COLA is 2.5 and the merit is 2. So whether other government agencies don't get any COLA at all, or whether they're getting 2.5, or whether school boards have merit increases for teachers or not, I just want to make sure that's clear. We're not asking for a 4.5% COLA. We're asking for whatever the COLA is. There's usually a number, right? It's 2.5, 2, whatever. Okay, so it's 2.5, and then the other part is the merit, which is 2. So yeah, just want to clarify that.
And that moves a person up higher on their by their ranking.
Yeah,
Or
there's
their-
just like with schools, there's a step, right? And then they can be off grid after 12 years or whatever, and then they don't get the merit.
But they move to another
Yeah, the
step
step,
on
yeah.
the, okay.
I agree, yeah.
I had two thoughts on overall. Feel like looking at our current financial report for the period ending the end of June, we have a rather healthy number of revenues. And we have a relatively, I won't say lean, but we're not overspending by any means. I think there's a lot of extra. I'm anticipating we don't have that much more fiscal year left. I don't think we're gonna burn up all that money. And I think we got money we can use for the future, meaning maybe 2027. That's one of my thoughts on it. And the other was, it was regarding merit. I couldn't remember how we work ours. Is merit, if a person just meets the minimal requirements, gets a merit increase? Or do they have to exceed or be at a higher level in order to justify?
Yeah, so the merit is tied to the annual evaluate or performance evaluations. It's not for the exceptional, it's for people who meet the necessary requirements.
It might be something we need to look at.
And
in the
it's
future.
annual for full-time people, but every other year for part-time,
Okay,
which is important because we have significant numbers of part-time. Makes a difference to the budget.
okay. And then along with discussion here, we need to take into consideration this growth. I mean, it's not as if we're just asking for, we're deciding whether they're gonna go 0, 1%, 2, 3%. Generally speaking, historically, at least historically, my whole 3 years here, more money's coming in from growth. And I'm anticipating more growth will be coming in again in the future. And I think that I don't want to ignore that and make believe it's not there. I know we can't bank on it fully, but there's another 2% of money coming in for us in our budget, just on growth alone. And so we're already getting, theoretically, next year, if it's similar to previous years, a 2% increase. And so I'm certainly not looking at a 3%, and I'm not really thinking 2% either. I'm in the 0 to 1% area. And that's because we're gonna have to come down to that point. But I just feel like we have decent revenue. We don't have extraordinary expenses beyond anything we've anticipated. And I think we have a lot of money we haven't spent, even in this current year. And so I'm not currently mentally anticipating anything in the 2 to 3% right now. Director.
That's fine. Just to go back to your statement about the current month statement, we're at the percentage we're at, like, what is this percentage?
71.
75%,
75.
right? And, on the revenue line, we're 77. And so I don't think it's accurate to say we're going to have extra. When people say we have extra money, I get concerned, right? Because you're making decisions based on this idea that we have extra money, right? And then another thing for me, like, it's challenging, right? Because we have an 8% increase on the salary line, right? 246,953, 8%. But we have a 10% increase on the repairs and maintenance of post falls, but it's only $4,000. So when we bandy about 0%, 1%, 2%, what we're really talking about is $50,000,
Yes.
right? I just showed you that.
Times 1, 2, or 3.
My youth program manager brings in $30,000 on grants, right? So I don't know whether you should be focused on like 0, 1, 2, 3 makes such a huge difference to the taxpayer versus whether the board wants to provide the library with 50,000, 100,000, or 150,000, or nothing.
Over what we
Because
currently get.
that's the thing you're deciding, though.
Yes.
That's the thing you're deciding.
Yes.
If you make it challenging for me to go get that 50,000 you don't give me, I'll go get the 50,000 you don't give me. Right? Because I'm gonna do the best job I can do. But this is a very simple thing for you to do. You could just take advantage of what's permissible within this structure. I'm not saying give 3%. I'm just saying don't get caught up in the 0, 1, 2, 3 as if 1 and 2 made a huge difference. The difference is an actual number. It's an actual number. Do you want to provide, what is $50,000? What's the percentage of that in 5.86 million? Do you want to give 50,000 or 100,000? Right?
$50.
And I totally understand that. It's not a lot of money to us, and it's not a lot of money to our budget, but to the taxpayer it is. And to the taxpayer that's currently paying, you know, $50 in tax to the library, if they now are going to pay, you know, $2 to $3 more this year, then they're going to pay $2 to $3 more next year, and then the year after that, $2 to $3 more, and then by the time you are at 10 years, they have a substantial payment that they're making. And people on fixed incomes, that's an issue for. So it's a philosophical issue. It's not really a dollars and cents issue. It's the philosophy of constantly going back to the taxpayer saying, we want you to give us more money, versus, hey, we're going to work with the money we get. Because it really isn't a lot of money. So yes, you could argue, well, it's not a lot of money, so therefore the taxpayer should willingly give it. But the philosophy, the overarching philosophy in my mind is, let's not burden the taxpayer, especially when we could maybe go get the money somewhere else.
So I've been doing some calculations and even using my calculator. I look at the balance or the this is the income statement. The budget for what we're going to get for taxes, 5.35 million versus what we've got year to date, 3.93 million. I would expect January or July 25th to be 1.95 million. It's definitely going to be less if it gets us up to the budget amount. And I look at on the balance sheet, we got ICS 110. And if I subtract off CARF and the emergency fund, I don't really know what the emergency checking account is, but the emergency is 963,000. That tells me that we've got the 2 months covered there in that emergency fund. That leaves 2.73 million. And I add the 1.957 that I think will come in July 25th. Our amount we'll have available July 25th or July 26th should be 4.68 million. If our burn rate is 500,000 January, that's 6 months to January 25th, that's 300 or 3 million. January 25th, I think we'll have an extra 1.68 million. I think we can take 100,000 of that and with low risk, 100,000 and use it, you know, with 1% and then put in 100,000 out of the savings and, you know, operate at the 3% level, but only ask the taxpayers 1%. You'll still get your money, but we take it out of there. But I need to know January 25th how much money we have, because we shouldn't keep asking the taxpayers for more money if we've already got enough. That means we've done too much. We've taken too much. And I believe they should get a break.
Oh, I could.
Want to see my number?
The good thing about this is it's all recorded, so, and it's all mathematical, which means we can
see my numbers.
We can eventually find out whether our calculations work or don't work. But again, for me, the challenge, I guess, and I appreciate the philosophy, but one of the reasons we have the budget hearing is for the taxpayer to come and say whether or not it matters to them that their individual tax bill went up by something or not. And I think last time we tried, I didn't have my current, finance expertise with me, but we tried to present what it actually looks like on the bill, where it goes up $1.15, it goes up $2, it goes up. Okay, so if we're gonna really talk about the taxpayer, then we should give the taxpayer the opportunity to look at their bill and see whether or not what the library is asking for is what they would like to give to us. right? Because we're actually just assuming, based on a philosophy, that if we ask for one, or we ask for two, or we ask for three, we're going to insult our constituents, your constituents, right? I'm not sure that's actually true. I mean, someone who maybe owns a $7 million house has a different number than the person who doesn't. But it's those numbers which matter to those individuals, and that's why you have a budget hearing.
It's a total of all the taxing districts, not just library.
No, I know, but I'm saying that if we're gonna go philosophical, right, the decision then should be made on specifics, which means, what did it cost you with your house? What did it cost you with your house, right? And then you might say, I love the library and I don't mind the $5. I don't mind the $1.15, because I think what you guys doing is great. Because you got to remember, like, you were voted in because they wanted you here, right? Which means they should appreciate that you're here. And so if you ask them for something, they should realize that there's a give and take here in the fact that it's a democratic process, right? If you just automatically assume that they want us to choose zero, they might not.
No.
It is a democratic process, and a trustee who gets in on a fiscally conservative platform is not working just off an assumption. If we use it for other issues in the library as evidence of what the community wants, then we need to use it on the budget as well.
I'm not in disagreement. I'm just saying that what we're essentially talking about is the specific number on each individual taxpayer's bill. Not a 0, 1, 2, 3, 50, 100, 150. Because those are small numbers, like you say. Right? I don't know what the population of the district is, but $50,000 divided by that number, right? Without getting to see everyone's individual bill.
There's small numbers anytime you don't want it to go up. They're significant when we want it to go down or not go up. And without objection, the chief admin
I wanted to
officer.
say one thing first.
And,
All right.
and
Go ahead.
trustee Bauman also has her hand up.
Okay.
I
We get too much on you.
I would just say, when I was running, the way the CLN budget was going up every year, it was going up percentage-wise faster than NIC, and based on the increase in 5 or 7 years, I calculated it would be as big as NIC's budget. And I told people that. And then, whoa, that's way too much. That the rate and how fast it's going up. We aren't even on par with NIC. And why should we be growing so fast and becoming such a burden to the taxpayers? That's what they see.
Trustee Ballin?
Also, and I agree, there are plenty of people that see their tax bill and think it's just fine to pay that toward the library because they love the library and they want to support the library. So I suggest, instead of just assuming that everybody feels that way, let's also maybe start, which I think I've heard you guys mention in the past, that we'd like to do something like this, but let's maybe tell people they can donate to the library. If they really love the library so much, they can give $5 extra every year, or $100 extra every year, or whatever they decide they want to give. But let's have a vehicle for them to do that in, and not just always assume it's taxation. So I don't know if we can somehow, I don't know if it's through the Friends or if it's through, some other avenue within the library, but maybe we can start to, publicize that, hey, we'd love for you to make donations to maybe fund some of these things, but we don't need to always assume that it's through taxation and that everybody loves what we do and wants to give more money.
And I believe there is an intent to eventually make our foundation more robust in the future. And that's non-taxed. It's not money coming out of the taxpayer's wallet. It's another source. Without objection, the chief admin officer. You have your hand up.
I do. Thank you.
We're trying to watch.
I appreciate it. I just want to piggyback on what the director was saying about the actual budget hearing meeting, being fiscally conservative myself as well. And I I show up to these things, and especially, I mean, I was involved with the school board, showing up to those meetings. I think there are certain entities as a constituent myself, as well as those who have voted for many of you, and being fiscally responsible. I understand not wanting to raise taxes, but I also understand as a community member and just a taxpayer that this is a public government entity and it is funded by tax dollars. And so this is where you need to give the taxpayer, the constituents, the opportunity. You say you have the 2-3%, know that they are doing their due diligence. They're showing up if they don't want that. In the same regards, the same people, if you have 0 or saying 0%, will show up and say, no, I want 2%. We want to give to the library. So I just really want to reiterate that because that's what I would want. I personally have always been happy to give to the library. I can say that. There was a moment that I questioned certain parts of that. And so again, I showed up to those meetings. So again, I just want to put it back onto your constituents and to the people and see who shows up for that. Because it is about $50, it's 50,000 times 1, 2, or 3 is what it comes down to. But I think that's still enough to where I would want that option.
Well, I'm an advocate for the library, and I'm also one for the taxpayer. It sounds negative, but this is a non-essential government function. Libraries are nice to have. It's not as critical as having a fire department and roads and a few other things out there. So, and I'm not one that, as Trustee Bauman expressed there, to just take what we can because we can and because it's what we've done. And I'm looking at, I'm still going back here at the 1% direction where I am because I do want to fund the libraries. And yeah, $50,000 is not much money, but it's more money, and it's more money out of the taxpayers' pockets. And there's already another $100,000 most likely coming into the library already, just based on growth. So I feel like we can't ignore that. So it's you're looking at, if you took anything extra, 1%, 2%, 3%, on top of already getting 2% worth probably, or more. I think we got maybe $120,000 this year. So we're probably, anyway, we have a decent revenue, amount of revenue coming in, I think, given what we have to do. Trustee Plus.
Just on that point, growth is included in this. Or didn't you add it in the totals? Okay, so we did use growth. That's in this
Yeah, it was
total.
102 the current year and we estimated 150.
115. I wanted to make a correction on what I said. I realized I went off the numbers of the accounts. That was June 30th, so there's still July to take that into account. So I need to subtract yet another 500,000, but that still gives me 1.18 million is what I'm guessing we would have January 25th if that delta on the account statement between the budget and the year-to-date line 400. That's what I think that 1.957 million. That's what I think we're going to get July 25th from the county.
That's based upon what we budgeted for and what we.
Well, this is what we budgeted because it was calculated how much we would get total. I'm just saying they're not equal. What we got in January was more than 50%. So if we get the budgeted amount and we look at how much extra we have in savings, I think we're going to have 1.18 million. And anyway.
Additional thoughts by Trustee Bauman, Trustee Addison, sorry about that. I struggle on your name all the time. Extra thoughts regarding the budget, please? Any recommendations? Trustee Foss.
Can we on these, trust bequest funds. I don't think I have a breakdown of that, but can we allocate a certain amount to capital assets for Hayden instead of using it this way, or is there requirements on the Hayden trust bequest?
No, the trust bequest only, the only restriction is that it's at that location. So I think the note on the side says general operation. It's gonna be applied throughout the budget generally to operations as they pertain to each of the locations, so that we stay within the restriction of the fund. So, but what you're asking is.
How much is the Hayden trust bequest?
The
Did I
Hayden,
see that someplace?
yeah, it's gonna be maybe 2.4 something, but yeah,
240,000.
245, it's not a straight.
So we could actually take that 100%, put it in CARF, and with the line item in CARF saying this is for the Hayden building plant or something. We could do that as part of an assignment to CARF. We could take that trust bequest and put it there.
We can do a lot of things with the trust request. I guess it'll depend on whether we get 0, 1, 2, or 3%.
Well, I'm saying the board.
In other words, that's a budgetary issue that we can work out.
The board can do that. You want the freedom to use that and scatter it all around to keep your funding going the way you want.
Yes, I'm structuring it to use it operationally. That's correct.
But if we know we're going to try to build at that site, we could take that trust bequest and put it there. And we could take money out of savings, 100,000 out of savings, and say we want to transfer from ICS to the budget, or to these line items in the budget.
There's a lot of things we can do. I'm waiting to hear whether it's 0, 1 or 2%, because it's after that I have to react to it, right? So everything you're saying is possible.
But I'm waiting until July 25th.
No, I know.
I'm going to insist on that.
The only direction we need tonight is whether we're publishing into the newspaper 0, 1, 2, or 3. And the only thing I said, which I said at the very beginning, is, right, it seems to me that the heart of the board is 0 or 1, right? I'll reserve my thoughts anymore on that, but I would suggest 2, so you can go to 1, since you're definitely not going to 3. But if you do 1, you can't do 2. If you do 0, you can't do, I mean, not that you can't, but you just make it more complicated for yourself. Can we have a special meeting after Trustee Ploss is satisfied with the July 25th number? We can, we just have to be cognizant of the timeline for the publication.
What's the deadline?
The turnaround.
What's the deadline for?
I think it's prior to that, actually, that we have submitted.
Going to be July.
The budget hearing? I think it needs to be 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks before
weeks
the budget.
before.
hearing.
Could we meet July 27th or July 26th?
No,
Or
I think it has to be 2 weeks prior to.
Well, we just need to publish it before that, so we can
that
publish
would
it.
be 2 weeks before the 13th.
Yes, assuming we get it on the day that you say we're gonna get it, and we do a meeting.
We can call
immediately after.
the
Assessor?
county, not the assessor, but the Catherine at
Oh. Account, yeah.
no, it's not the treasurer, it's the
Who you were talking about.
appraiser, not appraiser, anyway,
It's fine, I'm with you on it.
she will tell me probably, or if you call, she'll tell, auditor, yes. They will tell us July 24th what they're gonna do. They already have the number, so.
Did trustee Bellman have something to say a minute ago? Stop,
No.
But if it may.
I'd like to recommend 1%.
I just wanna ask trustee Ploss. You wanna wait for such and such a date for a number. If you can think through your mind what that number is, what will be the change in your mind, 0, 1, or 2? Like, if you get depending on what the number is, are you gonna change from, are we talking 0 to 3? Or you're just hovering around 0 and 1 anyway, regardless of the number?
I want to see if it's really 1.957 million.
So if it is,
If it is, we've got 1.68 or 1.18 million extra in savings.
And then you go
And
zero.
I would go to one
One.
and say, give 100,000 out of that to do your 3%.
Okay, but let's say
But
you,
don't ask the taxpayer for 3%.
but let's say your calculation was wrong. You
If
might
it-
go, you might go
if-
2.
Maybe, or if, I
Okay.
mean, if it's much lower, it's way lower and I'm way off,
Then you go 2.
then we don't have that money to,
Well, I'm just
We have
talking,
to decide.
yeah, I'm just trying to help you guys get to,
Yes.
get to it. Cause
Yeah,
you're trying to
I
look for a
might go to-
recommendation, right?
I
But,
might go to 2%. but
okay, so
I-
you might go to 2.
I don't think there's a mystery about what kind of money we're supposed to be getting. We've got a budget, we know how it's supposed to get. We have X amount gonna come in from the taxpayer. And so we don't get every penny of it that year because it doesn't always show up right on schedule. But we're still gonna get stuff trickling in from 22, 23, 24, and 25, whatever.
But that's happening all the time.
And, yeah, I know, and it changes it, but I don't think we're looking at asking for more than 1% so far. And so I don't know if we should wait around. I don't know. I'm proposing we go ahead. Does anybody want 2 or 3%? Victoria,
I
please,
think-
sorry.
I think trustee Addison might have her hand up. I don't know exactly
Oh, couldn't
the
see that.
system, but I think she might.
Yes. Just yes.
Go ahead, trustee Addison, if you're looking to talk, speak.
Yep, I did have my hand up. So I would like 0%, could maybe stretch it to 1, but perhaps we ought to publish 2% just to give ourselves option. There's like no stretch to the imagination. Could I go to 3? But if we publish 2, we can always go down to 0 or 1. It leaves our options open. We don't have to have a special meeting because by the next meeting, we would already have the numbers and we would have the option, to go either way.
So so we won't make a final decision until after the hearing. That's correct, right?
Yes, today you're just making a decision about what's to be published.
Right,
If
that
you
gets-
publish 2%, then the budget hearing would be the opportunity for those
The public to weigh in
to come, yeah.
And then we come
you
back
make a decision the
and make a
following-
decision on the 20th of August.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
I have no objection to the 2% publication.
I don't either. I was very opposed last year to the rest of the trustees wanting 3% because I think that's tone deaf, like I said, to the taxpayers to go and tell them we're gonna take 3% because you're telling the taxpayers what we plan to do. They don't look at it as, oh, we have an option that we'll take less, but they're looking at this as a public announcement that this is what you're gonna take.
Is there any objection to us publishing 2%? Is everyone in agreement that we're gonna publish 2%?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I don't know.
I don't want 3,
All right.
2 is okay.
So yes, I'm hearing correctly, we're going ahead and publish 2%.
Yes.
Any further discussion on that? Very good. Anything further on the budget discussion? Hearing nothing further, I guess that concludes that item on our agenda. We now move down to trustee training. I don't know if council is still online with us. Open, you there? Just playing Megan. No. Does it show that he's still online? I can't.
He's still there.
logged in, but I don't know if he's there.
He may have,
I'll call
is there a message that just typed or popped up?
Any, just one?
Well, 2.
Okay, we're up to the trustee training portion of the agenda. You still online with us? Okay. Was that to do with fire threat? Is that why? Yeah. Yeah, that happens. Very good. So just, all right, so no, I just wait and see if you should come back online here. Right. Okay. All right, so hang up here. Okay, okay. Very good. Got it. Okay, then. It sounds like Bonneville Power shut the power down, probably fire threat of wind or something, so. Colton's going on Starlink or something, and he's gonna hook up, and he said he could be on with us. I just gotta get a Starlink. I wonder if we can power.
He must be at his house or something.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know if we lost power or not.
He's up,
Oh, yes,
he's up towards,
somewhere north.
north of Spirit Lake, I think,
Standpoint or something.
on the way to San Francisco.
So we got training. We can ask, and then, does anybody have a response to public comment coming up? At least we'll know. I mean, after the training.
I'm gonna skip mine.
Okay, you won't have one, okay.
I'll maybe do it.
Does, Trustee Addison or Trustee Bauman have response to public comment?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. When we get to that one, we can move on. So we're still waiting on council to get back online with us. And as a preview, we'll also still have executive session, the first one, 18 on the agenda, not number 19.
Oh, really?
Just giving you a heads up.
Oh, we're not doing 19?
I heard that Mr. Van Ducci was in yesterday in the courtroom for
Like one,
Here.
jury selection. My wife was there. She was number 2 in the seat. So they decided they didn't like her. So she happily left. She doesn't know how it came out.
What they look for to exclude a person or think, like, what does a lawyer not like or whatever? Maybe I say, oh, I hate policemen, it's about a policeman. Well, you're probably not gonna be picked, but I don't know what.
Like how conservative you are is one thing, depending on what they.
I've been called for it twice, but I never had to go in. So,
Yeah, she was number 2.
Council is here.
you guys ready?
there he is. Can you hear us, council?
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and
Yes.
clear. You can speak up a little louder. Yes, we're here.
Okay, ready to proceed with trustee training?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Did CL and staff give you a copy of Senate Bill 1448?
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, this Senate bill was just jammed through I think it was maybe introduced after the first sine die of the legislature, but March 30 introduced in the Senate Committee, Judiciary and Rules, reported out April 1, read a second time, April 2, passed by the House, and then delivered to the governor at 5 p.m. on April 2, signed by the governor on April 10, and it's effective first day of this month. And I watched the committee hearings and reviewed the legislative history on this bill, which is an amendment to the 2024 HB 710 bill. And it's an important amendment for us. And it will require a couple of policy revisions. On my initial review today, minor policy revisions to the request for relocation of materials December 18, 2025, mature content collection policy January 16, 2025, and the material selection and acquisition policy May 15, 2025. There are three things, primary things that the AG's office represented this bill does. One, it removes the in context of which it is used phrase, which is one of the primary sticking points the court had with the bill that made it likely unconstitutional. And it introduced a definition for an adolescent minor. And they based that rationale off of the Texas case related to age verification for minors or anyone accessing pornography. And the court mentioned how a prepubescent child is less likely or not able to have a prurient interest the same way as an older minor would. And so the court wasn't understanding how a 5-year-old could have a prurient interest like a 16-year-old could. So they treated adolescents as a class. And so this bill creates a definition for that class. And then they did a little bit of language cleanup. And one of the things they did throughout the policy was they removed the material harmful to minors phrase and just have material now. And the harmful to minors is kind of in that phrase. And so what I would suggest is that, the board review this in preparation for, a policy amendment, and that they assign someone, counsel, and whoever the director wants to kind of do a quick policy cleanup and go through and just revise what we have to present to the board next month. And one of the hard requests from the legislature is contained in the statute, and it does require that the library to have a form that contains the definition of sexually explicit and harmful to minors as provided in section 181514, which was amended. That's on page 4. It's sub 7 on page 4 of your packet. So that, that's an easy copy paste that will amend our current definition with the statutory definition. But we're going to need to update those policies to align with some new phraseology in the state law. I still think our policies are compliant generally, like on a constitutional and a statutory basis, but I would like them to more closely align the statute so that way we can be as impenetrable to potential litigation as possible. I don't want to give them an easy, sue and settle route when I think we're compliant. But if we're not matching the statutory language, it's a good idea to do that. So I would be looking for that authorization from the board to maybe have a committee of the board or, a member of the board in tandem with council and whoever the director wants to delegate this to or do it himself, and then have a little working group and present an updated packet maybe next month. Any questions?
No, I think typically, staff provides suggested changes to our policies when necessary, if I've got that correct. And then they're presented to the board to look at and working with council. Is that accurate or not?
Yeah, I don't know, does council have a reason why this time around we would have a board representative, as it were, a part of that?
No, no reason, honestly. I didn't think about it. So no board representative, I don't care. Just gathering stakeholders here and trying to get some momentum to get this done. So staff can do it, or, board can propose it, staff can propose it. It doesn't matter to me.
So I guess it's not an action item. It's not an action item on our agenda, but there's nothing stopping
Yeah, you just need
staff
to,
from
direct me and
proceeding
I'll
with that.
work with legal
Yeah.
to provide an
So
amendment.
we're unofficially directing, go ahead and try and make our policies compliant with the law. Is that kind of what we want? Further discussion, you have some
I got a
discussion, please
question.
go ahead.
Question for council. harmful to minors, material harmful to minors is struck out all over the place, but I haven't really, and they're using material, but with this bill, are we losing a definition? Because still it says harmful to minors, well, it says shall not include something in 7B, but I don't like that they're taking harmful to minors out, because that's what we're using as justification for what books we're taking out, right? I don't know the effect of this, but I don't know if we have to follow it exactly. Can't we do our own? I mean, we don't want to break the law, but can't we have our own policy still?
They're not taking harmful to minors out. They're just kind of rearranging the definitions. And so whenever they use materials, it's sort of, instead of materials harmful to minors, they're using the term materials, and then they're saying those can't be harmful to minors. And the important definitional change here is on the first page, where they say that harmful to minors is taken as a whole and appeals to the prurient interest of adolescent minors. And that's one of the prongs on 7A1. And then it has the depicts or describes prong of that. So they're really targeting that. I think it's a 13 to 18 year gap where you're going to say, okay, is this taken as a whole appeal to the prurient interest of a 13-year-old?
But does that mean 12-year-olds and under, books for them, can have this kind of material? If they remove that freedom from us, why can't we have our own policy that says we're not going to have that in the library?
Well, I don't think it would change the federal definition on, the prohibition of that type of activity. However, it could potentially prescribe a civil suit for a 12-year-old plaintiff.
But if we just go by the definition ourselves of, in Idaho, a minor is still under 18. Why can't we have our own policy that says minors can't have this material? And we can still say adolescent minors, I don't know. Seems like we should not be throwing out our policy that says minors. We should have the freedom, because that's still an Idaho law. A minor is under 18.
Well, if you're okay with it, let's see what staff working with
Yeah.
council presents to us, and then we can butcher it or agree with it either
Yeah.
way. That works.
Yeah.
Further discussion on the training session today? Okay, very good. Okay, next one on the agenda was response to public comment. And when we were waiting for council to come up online, no one had anything to add for that one there. There was no special response to public comment. We can now move down to item number 18 on the agenda. There's the executive session. I guess we need someone to make a motion, and then we'll have to clear the space out somehow.
I move that we go to executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C and F.
It's been moved to go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C and F. So roll call vote. All those in favor, I guess starting with trustee Banducci.
Aye.
Hanley, aye.
Aye.
That's for and trustees.
I,
Alman. And Austin. Got your name. There you go. Very good. Guys have it. We'll now go into executive session. So just a statement, or maybe we're voting on it.
You
I
were,
think we're voting on this, right? Yeah.
One of us has to
it's 5:30.
make a motion
Yeah.
to direct the
Right.
chair.
Yeah.
I
The
can
chair
do
and the
that.
So I'll entertain a motion. I'll give you the motion right there. Word per word.
Okay.
Are we back?
We're back. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I move that the board authorize the chair and the director and council to proceed as directed.
It has been moved that the board is authorizing the chair and the director and council to proceed as directed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
No, trustee, Addison, yes? That was nine, okay, very good. All right, the
Yes,
ayes have it, and we'll go ahead and proceed. We're not having anything on item number 19 on there for the agenda, the other executive session. We now move down to item number 20. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I move that we extend the meeting to,
Okay.
5:55.
It's been moved, we extend our meeting to 5:55. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 One more, we don't need it. Okay, the ayes have it. We've now extended to 5:55 on our meeting. Okay, we're up with discussion on future agenda requests. Anyone have any new future agenda requests?
We have on the parking list to do the financial policy.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, fine. Not forgotten either. Okay, move on to the next item. Set regular and special meetings dates. We still have the next board meeting is on August 13th. And we have another meeting for, when is the, I don't think it's on here. The budget hearing.
20.
Is that on here? 20th?
20th is the regular.
Okay, August. No, the regular meeting is August 20th. Oh, the budget hearing, I'm sorry, yeah, the budget hearing is on August 13th, okay. Anything further? No, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It has been moved to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you for logging in remotely. Appreciate that.